Welcome to another edition of On Two Wheels. I'm your host, Larry Huffman. In this episode, we continue our story of the history of Supercross with the emergence of the newest of Supercross racing champions, Jeff Ward. From Pasadena, California, announcers Steve Grad and Danny Laporte bring us the 125cc and the 250cc racing excitement of the 1985 Pasadena Supercross. Look for David Bailey, Rick Johnson, Ron Lachine, and all the rest in this classic Rose Bowl show. On Two Wheels, the history of Supercross is brought to you in part by Cycle News, America's weekly motorcycle newspaper. By Moto Video Home Entertainment, the exclusive home video supplier of America's toughest race on home video, the Blackwater 100. And by your local Suzuki Pro Level RM motorcycle dealer. Suzuki, the ride you've been waiting for.
Welcome back to the Rose Bowl. You can hear this crowd is pumped up for tonight's event. Your overall point standings for the season. Mike Healy with a 9-point lead over second place Bobby Moore. These are the top 10 riders in this 125 series class. Earlier tonight, we had the qualifying heats. And here's how our expert Danny Laporte and I called Heat 1.
They come out of there quickly. It's very important to come out of the pack fast. And they get over the start breaker. There's a good corner block right up on the front. As they come over the rockers on the tight curves, Danny Laporte, that's a tight curve in there.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the race is going to be blocked right here. See where these guys are crashing? Now the top three guys are going to be hard to catch if you want to qualify.
Down the triple jump they come, and this will be the first lap. Lap number 1 out of 6, they go down the 10-foot drop the mountain. Now, these three fellas are way out in front as you see them coming down the mountain. Danny, what's the strategy for the leaders? They can't let up.
Well, I can see right now that third place is trying to pass second, so he's not slowing down. He wants to win.
That's Brooks. Larry Brooks, the favorite. He is older than most of these kids. He's in his early 20s, and most of these 125ers are in their teens, some as young as 16 years old. Look at Brooks handle those hoop-de-doos. Eddie Hicks, a former mini-bike champion, right behind him, over the double jump. What's the change from mini-bike to these 125?
From a mini-bike to a 125 is like going from a 100cc to a 500cc. It's a really big difference. And it takes at least a year on a circuit like this to even get used to the bike.
David Stanfield has a bird's eye view. What's going on, Dave?
I sure do. Larry Brooks did not have the best position on his start. It's drawn out of a hat, but he went into the lead fearless. Right behind him is Eddie Hicks. Now, if you had to pick two guys that were going to win the 125 class, it's your two leaders. And Brooks just did a flying W on the back straight there. Now comes through the rockers. This guy is wide out.
And part of his ability to do those is his body control. He's constantly flowing back and forth on his bike, Danny.
Yeah, when he goes off the jump, he's got to throw his weight back and push the bike out. You can see like he just did. And on that jump over there where he almost crashed, he didn't try hard enough. He hesitated a little bit.
Larry Brooks with that commanding lead, going over the 4x4s and now over the whoop-de-doos, handling them well in this first qualifying heat. Not trying to set any kind of records, just being steady to go on to win the first heat. But there's plenty more action. The second qualifying heat. These people were also battling very hard, but battling the hardest was Billy Frank, way out in front. Billy had control around all the qualifying laps. Despite some mishaps, nobody was injured. And as they went into the later stages of the race, here's how Danny Laporte and I called it.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I don't see cautions out. They're still going. Frank is still going. Don Kentling was the man who fell off the bike, and he's trying to get it restarted. He's okay. As we watch Frank come down the 10-foot drop. We're now coming up to the last lap. They signal it with the flag. Those are the only two signals you get from that finish line, as Frank is the man in front. They just have to play it careful on that final lap, don't
yes,
they, Danny?
Steve, that's right. Right now, it looks like the top three riders are slowing down quite a bit because some of the other riders are slowly catching. So they're just being really careful to finish. They're qualifying, and that's the way they want to finish.
There's a good shot of how it is tightening up from that camera angle. And another good one as they are flying over some of those obstacles and around those very tight curbs. You got to remember, there's 2 lines in this track, which enables them to pass, and it lets the race continue. As Billy Frank comes through and wins as he finishes down the mountaintop, Campbell finished second, and Bobby Moore came in third in the second qualifying heat of the 125.
This is the starting lineup for the 125cc championship final. These are the people who did such an outstanding job in the qualifying rounds to make it this far. The fans are all pumped up for this action, and you can be sure the racers are very intent on getting an outstanding start.
They're lining up at the starting gate. 10 laps. This is it. All the marbles. You can feel the tension. These are mainly youngsters. These kids aren't old enough to drink in most states. They're not old enough to do a lot of things. Some of them can't even vote yet as they start. They're between 16 and 20 years old. The favorite, Larry Brooks, is in his early 20s. And here they go through the start breaker, and it's broken about 5 people. But they get up, nobody injured. They're just in the back.
They're going to have a lot of trouble catching up, though. This is a big field, and these are the best at the 125cc. This track is rugged. This is one of the toughest Supercross tracks ever designed. And they've been doing it since 1972. Good look at the drop off the big mountain.
There go the 125ers. Flying over. You saw a rooster tail right in front of our camera. Brooks on top. The 125cc championships. Here from the Rose Bowl. Brooks goes against people with a little more experience. He started late, but he doesn't worry about it. He just thinks, what do I do to increase my speed? These people are not taking the double jumps 2 at a time yet. Brooks flying across the first hoop-de-doos.
In second place now, Steve Smith, number 29, excuse me.
He's got to fend off the people behind him as Brooks goes over the triple jump 3 at a time. And now he's coming up the mountain and down the backside of the drop. Dave Stanfield's on the field. What do you see at that location?
I see a lot of dirt flying, and I'll tell you, the track is starting to deteriorate. These 125s are really tearing it up. They are so quick and agile, and the crowd is pumping them up even more to go faster and faster.
We have a man down at the front side of the whoop-de-doos.
It's Kurt Hendrickson, and boy, he took a beating. I don't know if he was hit or not. It happened so fast next to the bale. They're attending him right now. They've got EMS people there. There you see him on the track. And yes, he was run over before he could get off the track. Oh, my.
They look like they're rolling him onto the gurney of the stretcher first. Danny Laporte, you're recovering from a broken leg.
Yeah.
And you know how dangerous this can be. When you see that and you're racing and you go by and see a man being put on the stretcher, what goes through the rider's mind?
Well, I don't think very much. You know, when it happens so fast, they don't really, it doesn't hurt. It's not like, it happens so quick, it just happens. There's nothing they can do about it.
Okay, but now they are passing. They see a man down. Does it wear in the back of their minds that they've got to be more cautious, or they can't let that happen to their own mind?
No, I don't think so. The top racers that I know, I don't think it's ever bothered them at all.
Dave Stanfield has a medical report for it.
Well, right now they're just trying to treat him, take a look at him. They don't want to move him too quick, and they just want him out of the way so other riders don't hit him.
However, these riders are well protected as far as their gear is concerned for this very exciting and, yes, dangerous sport. Prior to tonight's race, Dave Stanfield prepared a special feature on their safety equipment.
You'd be surprised to find out that injuries in this wild sport are pretty uncommon for 2 reasons. First of all, athletes like Bobby Moore here, top 125cc rider, is in peak physical condition. Second of all, it's the safety equipment he wears. Down at the bottom, these boots are tough. His shins, ankles, toes, totally protected. There's plastic here to protect his knees. Coming up to full motocross gloves, he's got a belt here that gives him support, rock guard, shoulder pads here, helmet, full face, and his goggles. They even have roll-offs here, so when they get dirty, he can change his lens and has clear vision instantly.
No need to change the lenses on Larry Brooks' goggles. He has taken full command of this championship race. Look how smoothly he goes over the whoop-de-doos to his only chance for some speed. On the straightaway, they go over 50 miles an hour. Eddie Hicks has moved into 4th place. Dave Stanfield, what's up down there?
It looks like Larry Brooks is pulling away easily. He's got an 8-second lead. He's totally under control. He's not being pressured at all. Larry Brooks with a commanding lead here, and it looks like he's going to win this thing if he doesn't make a mistake.
And there's Brooks, the leader. Brooks staying in the lines, taking the jumps, and taking the corners beautifully.
Yeah, he's really smooth. He's got really good throttle control. When he comes out of the corner, he accelerates real smooth. That's why he slides the bike to the corners like he does. He takes a little bit tighter lines than some of the other riders.
And somebody you saw on the back of your screen spun out on that number 2 corner, so the caution goes up. That number 2 corner is treacherous. As you can, by looking at it, John Ortner is the man there. He's okay. He's just got to get back on. That was a very tight corner take
That's
by
right, Steve.
Brooks, and 1 lap to go. The white flag is out. Brooks looks like he's got his adrenaline pumping now as he wants to wrap this baby up, going through the whoop-de-doo.
Steve, it looks like he wants to lap everybody out there, but he's only got 1 more lap to go. So, he almost went off the course there, but he's all right now.
Almost high-sided, but maintained control as we see the leader with 1 lap to go.
He was
Larry
giving a lap
Brooks.
sign to take it easy and kind of slow down because he's on the last lap.
What a good look we have there at the leader, Larry Brooks, in the 125cc championship. There's how spread out this whole thing has gotten. It's hard to believe they were so crunched early in the first lap.
It's kind of hard to tell who's in what position when they start lapping each other.
What a great look at Brooks. Get ready for the checker. And they're coming out with the checker for Larry Brooks. And he won it handily. He was up to 8, maybe 10 seconds on his lead. Over these racers who are going to fight for 2nd and 3rd. Who gets over? It looks like Dean Matson and possibly Eddie Hicks rounding out the top 3 in this 125cc championship. There are your unofficial results. This was an outstanding race by Larry Brooks.
All right, Larry.
And Dave Stanfield's got the happy winner.
Larry, you made it look a little too easy.
Oh, it wasn't that easy. I had a few guys on my butt for a while there, but then I started pulling away at the end.
Okay, the start. Was that the hard part?
Like I said before, the start's the hardest part, and I got it again. I'm really happy right now.
Track was okay, wasn't it?
Yeah, it got rutted out, nice and rough, the way I like it.
Why were you pulling out? Why were you pushing us so hard?
Win big, make people know who's the best.
All right, congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Dave, I want to ask him real quickly.
One
He
question.
doesn't look like he's even sweating. It looks like he's just come out of the shower.
He's not. Well, he's got a little sweat over his eye. Are you tired?
No, not really. These indoor night races don't even get me tired. I train hard during the week and run in the heat, so come to night racing, it's really easy.
All right, congratulations.
Thanks a
Big
lot.
win.
Thank you.
There's our champion, Larry Brooks, in the 125cc championships from the Rose Bowl. Stay with us. We'll be right back. It's not often you get to see competition from the athlete's point of view, but this is exactly the view that Supercross riders have as they go across this bone-crushing track. A track made to ruin man and machine. Tight corners, high jumps. They haven't got time to worry about it. Their main goal is to finish first across the finish line, and that's what they'll be doing tonight. Welcome to the world-famous Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California, where tonight you'll see the Fram Autolite 1985 Rose Bowl Supercross Championships for 250cc racers. And a very pleasant good evening to you. Welcome to Southern California, where you're about to see one of the most grueling, exciting, and yes, even dangerous sports events you'll ever see anywhere on this planet. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Grad. Welcome to our telecast. We're happy to have you with us here tonight. Now, maybe you've seen motocross racing. That's outside a stadium. Mother Nature can be rough on these guys, but not nearly as tough as their fellow man. The people who design these tracks really make it tough. And I'll tell you something else. There's a lot on the line here. Purse money, contingency money, and bonus money for the end of the year for the series champs. What kind of money?
I'm talking about six figures, over $100,000 on the line. It's tough on these fellas on the track and afterwards. And a guy who can empathize with him is our expert analyst, Danny Laporte. Danny's only here because he's recovering from a broken leg. Danny, glad to have you with us. These guys are really pumped down there.
Thank you, Steve. It's nice to be here. Yeah, they are. You know, going into the last race is really difficult, and especially on this track, it's really rough, and they can't make any mistakes. And I think the rider that gets a good start, doesn't make any mistakes, will win tonight.
And we have got four people bunched up who can win the series championship. Brock Glover, Jeff Ward in at 211 points overall. And then you've got Ron Lechien at 209, even Ricky Johnson 201. I know it's too close to call.
That's right, it's too close. I wouldn't like to be out there right now. I'd like to be out there racing, but it's so close for those guys under so much pressure.
And this track is not going to make it easy on anybody. Nobody's going to run away with it. And we have a person down on the field, in the pits, and on the infield who's going to give you up-close type of reports. I'm talking about David Stanfield. What's the situation right now, Dave?
I think I've got the best seat in the house, but I tell you, I'm not going to sit down. Man and machine are going to take a beating tonight. This is possibly the toughest Supercross track ever. There are whoop-de-doos and there are killer triple and double jumps that are going to have these guys flying all over the place, much to the delight of 65,000 screaming fans.
And I'll tell you another thing these people are battling for, the players. They are going to get the Toyota Truck Rider of the Year award, and it'll be presented by Miss Toyota. How do they get this award? Well, enthusiasts, fans around the country write into the top magazines who cover this sport, and they vote for their favorite rider. The rider wins that. So we've got an outstanding night for you of outstanding Supercross action here from the Rose Bowl. The point standings are so close. That's why we have such a great crowd. Jeff Ward and Brock Glover, 211. Ron Lechien right behind them by 2 points. Even Ricky Johnson has an outside shot. There's the rest of the top 10, but I'll tell you what, Glover and Ward are keyed up. What do they think about the big climax tonight?
Yeah, you know, everyone's talking about, you know, all the pressure here at the stadium tonight, and, you know, there is a lot of pressure, and I mean, I'm feeling it, but it's something I have dealt with in the past, and I'm trying to put it out of my mind and just go out and ride like I know how to, and I think if I do that, I think I'll be able to win.
I haven't talked to Brock about pressure, and there's always a little bit of pressure on there, but it's just how you deal with it. You got to just look ahead and take each race as you know, one at a time, and that's how usually things come out for the best.
Glover and Ward, what a battle we'll have. You might wonder, how do you get a beautiful football stadium like the Rose Bowl into one of the most difficult Supercross tracks in the world? Well, let's have a look and see how they did it. Only hours ago, the floor of the Rose Bowl looked like this, almost like they're putting together a parking lot for a mall. But they're putting together one of the most difficult Supercross tracks there is. Man, machines, tractors, road graders, bales of hay, everything that went into making this one of the top Supercross tracks. You have to pick out the big rocks. After all, you don't want a rider hit in the face with one of them. The little ones, they'll let stay there. And there's the starting gate. In just a few minutes from now, that starting gate will drop, and we'll have some of the most outstanding sports action you'll ever want to see. It's quite a difference from a few hours ago, wouldn't you say? Well, in order to really get up there into the major motos, you've got to do some qualifying. And here's what happened in tonight's earlier qualifying heat. In heat number 1, Eddie Warren on bike 801 led from start to finish. The Michigan rider went full throttle. He wasn't impressed by the California West Coast bikers who dominate this. Eddie Warren from start to finish, riding smoothly over the jumps, taking them 2 or 3 at a time, and taking the checkered flag. Eddie Warren getting that first one under his belt in heat number 1 of qualifying in the 250 cc's. In heat number 2, David Bailey looked like the easy favorite, but Bailey had some trouble on this very rugged Supercross track. And the man who took first was Keith Bowen, a man who really does well over the whoop-de-doos. In qualifying heat number 3, it was a real battle as Ricky Johnson and Johnny O'Mara were close all the way. 2 high-flying riders battling over the whoop-de-doos and around the tight curves. This was things to come for the fans at the Rose Bowl tonight. Even as they head down the final stretch, just before the checkered flag, they were within seconds of each other before Ricky Johnson finally comes up on top. And in qualifying heat number 4, controversy as Jeff Ward, one of the overall point leaders, goes backwards the wrong direction. You can't do that. And so his competitor, Brock Glover, the other man tied for the overall lead, takes qualifying heat number 4 with ease. So Glover has the psychological edge over Ward as he wins the first of their qualifying heats tonight. And there's one of the many, many fans, young and old alike, who enjoy Supercross here from Pasadena. Welcome back to the Rose Bowl. We are now in the middle of semifinal heat number 1. It's an 8-lap race. You've got some of the top racers going in this over this very, very rugged track. Then they go into the whoop-de-doos. Those are brutal. Those are trench whoop-de-doos. And they both clear them, and they go over the table jump. Ryan still on top, Whiting right behind him. How about the fellas in the back of the pack, though? What's their strategy now, Danny?
Well, they're just hoping that some of the guys in front of them crash, because that's the easiest way to pass. And then they've got to try. If they want to place in third position, if they don't do it the first 3 laps, it'll be really difficult.
All right, there you see some of those people trying to catch up. Rick Ryan, A.J. Whiting in the semifinals of the 250cc. This is Ryan. He handles that one beautifully.
He's riding real conservatively, I think, because he knows that, you know, he doesn't have to try really hard. They've got a pretty good lead.
Ryan's opening it up on Whiting, who had trouble in the 4x4s. Finally recovers, doesn't lose a place. But they're coming up on him. Scooter Stafford is in 3rd place, and Scooter's moving up on A.J. Whiting in 2nd place. Way out in front is Rick Ryan in the semifinals of the 250cc. And you're right, it is rugged, it is dangerous, but these fellas are protected. To find out what they wear, let's get this report from Dave Stanfield.
You'd be surprised to know that injuries in this wild sport are quite infrequent for 2 reasons. First of all, these athletes, like Kerry Kehoe here, is in top physical condition. Second of all, it's the safety equipment he wears. Starting with the boots, there's a shifter protector, the ankles are well supported, the shins are definitely supported here. To his knees, plastic behind there for protection. Up to his jersey, he's got even a safety belt here that holds his kidneys in tight. Full gloves, a face protector, the goggles, the helmet. These gladiators are ready for battle.
That's right, Dave. Battle against not only each other, but against this very tough, dangerous Supercross track. And there you can see a good reason why they need all that protection. It is rough. There's the treacherous number 2 corner. It is tight. You won't see that in the motocross. This is Supercross. Meyer getting back on. He's off the course, so he's not going to block anybody. He can't get it restarted. Meanwhile, Ryan coming down the hill. Here's Whiting. Whiting's just got to make sure he stays locked in that 2nd position, doesn't he?
That's right. Still, though, right now, for 3rd position, Lyles is trying to get by Scooter Stafford.
Here comes Scooter Stafford, number 58, around that tough turn. And Billy Lyles still fighting in there. This is really a tough one for 3rd place. Martin Vesely is in 5th. And now the last lap. Ryan.
Now Ryan's coming up on lap riders, and the rider just crashed in front of him. He's going to have problems here if he doesn't get by him.
He gets nicely on the outside. Now they very courteously move to the inside, and Ryan's okay. Whiting seems to be okay getting out of the mess. Whiting is still well behind Ryan. He'll never catch him on this last lap. The big battle is for 3rd. There's Ryan. He's the leader. He's going to win this unless he endos or crashes in any way.
The lap riders can really be dangerous sometimes because they're moving all over the track. You know, they're not going quite as fast as the top riders. And when a rider comes up to them, they don't know which direction to go, to the left or the right. Sometimes, you know, they run into each other.
Whiting's got a lap rider in between him and Ryan. As Ryan's coming up the drop, he gets the checkered flag comfortably. Here comes Whiting. Whiting is going to follow Ryan. That's Whiting in the yellow. And the semifinal heat number 1 was a real thriller. As you see, following Ryan and Whiting, Billy Lyles was right in there, number 3. They battled all the way and put on a really great show for the fans here at the Rose Bowl. Tighten your seatbelts. We've got plenty of action coming. Along with Danny Laporte and Dave Stanfield, I'm Steve Grad. You're looking at the 2nd semifinal in the 250cc's. They're lined up at the starting gate.
Only the top 3 qualify for the main event, but I want to remind you there is a last chance.
Yes, that's right, Steve.
But you've got to come in from 4th to 13th, and there's 20 people racing.
The top 3 from this go directly. The rest go into the last chance race. And this race, Lachine and Ward are both in this. They didn't qualify in the last heat.
So you got 2 big names in the semifinals, surprisingly.
Looks like Lachine and Ward.
And they get off clean, just like you'd expect. There's the start breaker. The other fellas are still bunched close to them.
Going into turn 2 is Lachine and Ward.
And Lachine, number 6, is in first place. Ward takes that corner tight. Also in there is Alan King in 3rd place. He had a good start, but had some problems. So Lachine is first over the drop. Ward is next. There's Alan King. They come down that 10-foot mountain. David Stanfield, what do you see down there?
I see these guys pulling out real easy, and one other thing that's real important, this track is starting to deteriorate, especially before some of these double and triple jumps. There are some big ruts.
And right there, Ward was able to get by Lachine. As you had mentioned, there was some dirt coming off the middle, and that's where he was able to slide by him.
Yeah, it makes it really slippery. What happens is the dirt's only so deep, and it gets worn away. And when you try to ride on steel with a little dirt, it's like ice. And the tires aren't designed at all for that kind of surface.
Jeff Ward, one of the co-point leaders with Brock Glover, really is a veteran of this. Earlier, we asked Jeff about this surface.
The track today at the Rose Bowl is fairly my type of style. It's pretty tight. I'm a smaller rider, so I can get in and out of the turns real quick. And also, it's got some pretty fast straightaways, and our Kawasaki's have some good horsepower.
Every bit of that horsepower is needed on this rough track through the whoop-de-doos, around the curves, over the hills and the jumps, and especially to stay ahead of the competitors. Lachine came out to the early lead in the first lap, and Ward took care of him on one of those slippery portions. How long did that?
In 4th place, Brian Meyerskoff, and in 5th place right now is Mickey Diamond on a Husqvarna.
Here they come through the first set of rockers into the tight corner, number 2. Again, that's Ward, Jeff Ward, able to pull out ahead of him. Lachine right behind him. Remember, the first 3 qualified, but a lot of pride and psychological battling's going on here for the main event. These are 2 of the big boys.
Yeah, I think it's really important, a psychological advantage if you can win your heat race or semi, because it just gives you that little extra piece of confidence you need.
And there's a spill going into the back set of whoop-de-doos, but it does not affect the leaders. As you see, Ward and Lachine, they're well ahead of it. Boy, you need power on this track. What feeds these machines? What gives them the power to go over them? Well, let's find out from Dave Stanfield.
I'm in the self-serve area of the pits. This is where they store all the oil and gas mixtures for these motorcycles. Now, every mechanic's got his own special mixture. Your car uses about 90% octane gasoline. This is special stuff. This is 108. You just can't buy this at every gas station. And this right here, when I'm here, I carry this with me.
That's right, Dave. Don't leave home without it. There's Ward. Boy, he is using all that fuel all the way, and he's leading this very close heat. Dave Stanfield.
Well, these rockers are definitely some of the toughest whoop-de-doos ever, especially leading into the first turn, the second turn. The course is deteriorating, plenty of rocks. It is getting crazy, but I'll tell you, Lachine is coming up strong.
Yeah, it does. He's coming back. At first, it looked like he was dropping off. Now he's coming back.
Lachine and Ward battling. All they have to do is finish in the top 3. They go right to the main if they do that. Jeff Ward coming down the 10-foot drop on the mountain. Lachine right after him. And now Ward's going to start lapping the field. He's going to lap them as they go into these whoop-de-doos. And the man he left pulls off to the outside, which is what he's supposed to do. In the overall point series, Ward has 211, tied for first with Glover. Lachine, 209. Here they are on the straight. And onto a double jump. That's the most height I've seen Ward in this race.
Lachine's almost off his bike. He's running
jumps back on, however. I think Ward put it to him with that flying jump. He picked up some ground. So Ward has picked up some ground. Here he goes over the triples. He's going higher now. I think it'll be Well, Machine won't fall back. He's not going to play it cautious. 1 lap to go.
No,
he's
going to try. But he can count on these lap riders. He's going to really slow down Jeff. And Jeff, by the end of this last lap, can move right in behind. But unless Jeff makes any mistakes, I think he'll be able to win.
That's Ward. He's in first place going on in the last lap into the straight, or what we have of a straight. Machine is pretty well back there because we have a lap rider behind Ward. Ward coming into the rockers. The first set of rockers, and now tough corner number 2. He might get slowed here by the lap people. He is slowed. He has to go to the outside. All by himself over the rockers is Machine. Hit the second corner, but Ward will be coming up to the checker very, very soon. Over the triple. Here comes Ward. Over the finish. And Ward gets the checker in the semifinal. Here's Lachine, number 2. And then all-important third spot will go to Alan King. And now we're just seconds away from the start of number 1 moto. These people are nervous. They are tense. These are tense riders. Look at the starting gate. It's still up. And it's down, and here they go. The final moto, the first of 2 finals, and they break out of there. And they fly high over the start breaker, and only one man is down at the start. He's near the back, so they don't bunch up. Bailey, one of the favorites, goes down. That's Alan King. Now another man goes down. Boy, we're on the first lap of 12, and people are falling. That's Machine. And they come down the 10-foot drop, which is the finish line. These are the best. Johnny O'Mara leading the pack as they go through the whoop-de-doos. And these are like trenches. And David Bailey is on top. O'Mara out in front of that pack. And those whoop-de-doos really start separating the stars from the average. Everybody accelerating well. Here comes Ward. Ward does a pass. He's on that tight corner, and he handles it beautifully as he gets by a man right next to him. And now they come around the curve where they're going to go mountain climbing. David Stanfield is standing by to watch them go descending down that mountain.
This is the finish line right here. It is a mountain of a jump. The minute they land, they've got to jam it in second gear and shoot back out onto the whoop-de-doos.
Now, nothing like shooting out of there from second gear onto those brutal whoop-de-doos. They take a lot out of you. And then you have no time as you get right onto that plateau. Bailey handling it well. He's not doing anything fancy. He's not going really high over the double jump.
I'm ready.
He's riding really smooth, and he's actually pulling away.
And by the way, this track was designed by a woman, Helen Muletta. She's been in Supercross 13 years. This is her first major track design, and Bailey is handling it well as he gets the flag for the final lap. Bailey out in front, and boy, he is doing well as he goes through those whoop-de-doos. Brock Glover in 5th. Ward. Jeff Ward has moved up to 7th. Ron Lachine is back in 11th place. He's dropped back. Those are the overall point battlers.
Ward looks like he's moving up on Glover a little bit right now. And if Ward can get past Glover, that means that going into the last race, he has an advantage over Glover.
Don't forget now that Brock is riding with a broken wrist, and it's got to take some wear and tear on him. Slow him down, make him tired, because he's got to look that bike. They've got to lift that bike, folks. See, when he goes into that jump, as Danny's been mentioning, not only do they lean, they lift that bike. And there he is. The man who lifted the bike to first place, David Bailey. In his second, Brecker. Excited. Goat Brecker and Johnny O'Mara in 3rd. And here come the big boys, Ward and Glover. As Glover, number 4, you gotta watch him. And you've got to watch, too, Jeff Ward. $100,000 could be riding on this. The second moto final on the 250. from the Rose Bowl. Ward adjusting his goggles. Glover adjusting his. I tell you what, before this race, I know that they respect each other and they personally like each other, but professionally, forget it. These guys go at it. They almost do it like the professional wrestlers, the way they throw the barbs around.
They're pretty much competitors on and off the track. They're not real great friends, to be honest, when they're off the track as well.
And they hail from both of them from Southern California. Kawasaki sponsors Ward. Yamaha Glover. That's Machine in the middle. He had a rough first moto, which just about took him out of the overall series championship. But he's wild enough to possibly take this second moto all by himself.
That's right.
If 25 points.
Steve, if he can get the start, it's just like David said, if you ride smooth without making mistakes, you can win.
Easier said than done on this Supercross monster. This is brutal. Here we go. The gate ready to go down. There it goes. They're off for the second moto in the 250 finals. And they bust out of there. Everybody clean over the start breaker. Nobody down. Here they come in the rockers. The first set of rockers. Bailey the leader. O'Mara the leader. Ward in second around cut corner number 2. That's O'Mara, followed by Ward. Machine is in there. Here comes the triple jump. Full throttle on all of these. They go over the Miller Mountain, the drop. And it's O'Mara, Ward, Ricky Johnson, and Brock Glover is fourth. Look at those rooster tails shoot out from under the tires. Lots of dirt here. Dirt isn't very good for bikes. Dave Stanfield reports on how the bikes are protected from all this dirt.
In motocross, dirt is the name of the game, but it can be a nuisance. With me is Jeff Clark, the chief mechanic for Team Suzuki. Jeff, what do you do about dirt?
Well, tonight's racetrack actually has quite a few rocks on it, so we've installed this disc cover that'll keep the rocks out of the calipers so that we can have brakes through the entire race. Also, we put on the fork guards, which will keep rocks and other flying debris off the fork leg so that we won't blow an oil seal. In addition to that, we have screens inside the radiator that will keep the rocks and flying debris from puncturing the radiator, which would make us drain all the water and having an engine failure. We definitely can't have an engine failure tonight.
No, not in this competition, especially when they're running on the pipe full throttle. The way that Ricky Johnson is, look at him coming up in the back.
Ricky Johnson just went down.
In the first set of rockers, on the last one, he's okay. Here comes the caution flags. Meanwhile, O'Mara and Ward got by it. I don't know if Glover did. David, what happened?
Ricky Johnson, who is the master of the whoop-de-doos, was pushing it a little bit too hard. He was gaining ground, and he just lost it right coming into turn number 2. And now his tank is up in the hay bales, and he's pulling the hay bale. He's got some banners with him, but he's going to go for it. He was trying to help his friend Brock Glover and just pushed it a little bit too far.
Well, because of that, now Ward, number 2, the second man on your screen, has a 3-second lead over Glover. They are second and third. O'Mara is on top, but Glover and Ward are going for the Supercross overall championship. Now there's O'Mara. He's out in front of his second moto, and he's doing a great job for this. But the overall race is between the second and third men. Boy, they come flying down that mountain. Right into that rooster tail comes Ward. I'm Steve Brad with Danny Laporte and David Stanfield. And what a night of Supercross action we've had, all culminating on this big race. 4 laps to go. O'Mara trying to hang on to win the Rose Bowl Supercross. Ward and Glover battling second and third for the overall. And Ricky Johnson, a key man, trying to help Glover, his teammate.
If he can stay in front of Johnny and Jeff, he can kind of hold back the race, and Brock can move up right behind Ward. And I think that's what's happening right now. Ward's kind of getting a little bit panicky, trying to get by the lap riders and Ricky Johnson. So the race is going to be really tight between the top 3 guys.
There's nothing after this. There they go. It's Ward. They're coming into that real rugged set of whoop-de-doos. David, what's going on at this late date?
Well, according to my stopwatch, the first 3 leaders are within 3 seconds of one another. It is an incredible battle, especially for a Supercross of this magnitude.
Now Ward and Glover have a lap man between them. and that's got to help Ward.
They just got by him just now, so that's all right. They're in the clear.
There's Ricky Johnson.
He's not going to let Johnny O'Mara. Oh, he moved over for him.
O'Mara's not his main concern, though.
No, it's Ward for Brock Glover for the overall championship.
Boy, they are tightening up. There is O'Mara. There comes Ward. Here comes Glover. This is what everybody's been wanting. 2 laps to go. What a finish we're going to have.
This is incredible. If Brock can get by Ward, he'll win the championship. The first time ever for Yamaha in the past, I think, 3 years now.
There's a lap man as Ward takes a corner. O'Mara still wants to hang on. He wants the Rose Bowl championship. Ward's got to hang on. Stay ahead of Glover. Second and third, what a battle. Osho's not going as high now with just a lap and a half to go.
He seems to be slowing down a little bit. Ward's really trying hard, and so is Glover. It's an incredible race.
1, 2, and 3. There's Osho. O'Mara. He's got the lead. He can win the Rose Bowl championship. 1 lap to go. Here comes Ward. Here comes Glover. Brock Glover must pass Ward. Ford's got to pass too in order to win the overall championship. Now there's some lap people getting in O'Mara's way. There's Ward. Glover right on him. There they come down the table. On the bit of a straightaway. Glover seems to be losing a little ground on Ward. What a perfect shot you have there. That's O'Mara coming into the rockers. These are tough rockers. His last set. Ward right behind him on the corner. O'Mara blocks him. He won't shoot past him. Here's Glover. I don't know if Glover has enough time. He's opening it up full throttle. Here they come up the hill. Watch the checker. Here it comes. It's O'Mara and Ward, the overall champ. Glover comes in third. Ward beats him out for the 1985 250 Supercross. And what an outstanding race. It wasn't the track that determined it. It was the riders themselves. There's Glover. What courage. What courage with a broken wrist. There's Ward. He maintained his pace. He even went after O'Mara the whole race. He wanted to come in first, but he won the overall.
Jeff Ward rode really well. I'm really surprised that Brock backed off just a little bit on the last lap. He might have been having problems with his wrist. Brock's really a tough guy, and I don't think that if he hadn't had problems with his wrist, he wouldn't have done any better.
And credit goes to O'Mara, too, for the way that he won this Rose Bowl championship. And there's Ward. And the key, he says, he's got to feel he's flowing with his bike.
Yeah, he's so happy right now. This is the first big championship for Jeff Ward.
Ward goes into his last practice lap as if it's the final. He says, then I can continue throughout the different races. And he had a tough time. Remember, his bike went backwards in one of the early qualifiers.
That's right.
And he recovered. That takes a lot of mental toughness, a lot of intestinal fortitude to be able to come back from some of that adversity. And a lot of credit has to go to Johnny O'Mara. He won the Rose Bowl championship by taking first place as we look at Ward celebrating his overall title. There's number 1 and number 2, and that's how they finished. O'Mara won first and last race of the season, and those were his only wins of the year. What a set of bookends for him. And Jeff Ward takes the overall championship.
With his unique style of riding, Jeff Ward begins his charge in 1985, and for the next few years displays an excellence in performance that racers ever since have valued as being one important factor in becoming the best they can be on 2 wheels. I'm Larry Huffman signing off, but reminding you to check in next time for more historic Supercross racing. Hello everyone, I'm Larry Huffman, and thanks for joining us on Two Wheels. Our trip into Supercross history becomes an easier story to tell in this episode of our series, because this is the first year that the introduction of home video begins to impact the videotaping of these great Supercross races. This show documents our second look back to the year 1985. I'd like to take you now to the highlights of the Rose Bowl Supercross and the Los Angeles Superbowl of Motocross, where I hosted the original broadcast. Once again, look for Jeff Ward and the heroic racing antics of David Bailey, who scored the highest finishes at the Los Angeles Superbowl. On Two Wheels, the history of Supercross is brought to you in part by Cycle News, America's weekly motorcycle newspaper. By Moto Video Home Entertainment, the exclusive home video supplier of America's toughest race on home video, the Blackwater 100. And by your local Suzuki Pro Level RM motorcycle dealer. Suzuki, the ride you've been waiting for. Is Supercross, an orchestrated chaos that pits the best riders in the world of motocross against each other. Wheel to wheel, flying, scrambling, and careening around a man-made course of diabolical dives, jumps, twists, and turns, all within the confines of an athletic arena. It's grueling, it's thrilling, it's fast lane action at its best. And tonight we're presenting not one, but two of Supercross's most renowned venues. Pasadena, California's famous Rose Bowl, site of the granddaddy of all collegiate bowl games, and the venerated Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, site of the 1932 and 1984 Summer Olympic Games, and the place where the sport of Supercross first began in 1972. We've got the best of the best, the cream of the crop of Supercross riders. Some of the most famous names in motorcycle racing, guaranteeing some of the most exciting racing action imaginable. All competing for big money, big tour points, and championship crowns. It's going to be a wild one, so stay with us. We'll be right back with the Miller Superbowl of Motocross. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum and the granddaddy of them all, the Super Bowl of Motocross. Hello, everyone. I'm Larry Huffman. Tonight, 70,000 screaming fans on hand to see a real Donnybrook. It's the final event in the Supercross season. The championship will be decided tonight. A huge purse, and the racing will be fast and furious. In addition to the usual heats in Maine, we've got a bonus for you. The Miller Masters, the richest single race ever held. 10 laps, $30,000, winner take all. And it should be a thriller. As promised earlier, we're going back in our two-stroke time machine tonight, 6 months back to the Pasadena Rose Bowl. That was a wild and crazy night full of surprises and frenetic racing. There'll be plenty of action tonight, and to help me call the action, my colleague, Greg Barbacovi. Greg, we've got great riders tonight and a lot of different factors.
That's true, Larry, and as with most Supercross races, probably the single most important factor is going to be the course itself. The Supercross courses change with every single facility. Here at the Coliseum, for instance, the only place where we have the famous Paris-style jump, which we'll see later on.
All right, what riders should we look for tonight, Greg?
Larry, the defending Supercross champ this year, was Team Honda's David Bailey. But tonight, his teammate Johnny O'Mara is only 6 points from taking that title away from him. Our reporter Dave Stanfield spoke with Bailey earlier today.
David Bailey, how about this #1 plate? Are you going to be able to keep it?
Well, in the Grand National I will, in the 500 class I will, but it looks like the Supercross is pretty much out of my hands now. Johnny O'Mara's got a 43-point lead, and I think something pretty terrible would have to happen to him tonight for him not to be able to walk away with this title, but it's a teammate, and I'm glad to give it away to him, if anybody.
The rider carrying the number 2 plate is Mark Barnett, a 4-time national champ riding for Team Suzuki, but rumored to be switching to Kawasaki next season. This year's number 3 rider is Team Yamaha's golden boy, Brock Glover, who at age 24 is one of the winningest Supercrossers ever.
Brock Glover has won 3 Super Bowls, 2 here in the Coliseum, 1 in the Rose Bowl. Brock, what's it take to win here at the Coliseum?
Well, I think it's definitely going to take a good start out there. The track looks real fast, and I think it's necessary to get out in front right off the bat and then just try to hold your race and go as fast as you can, because there's a lot of guys out there who want to win bad.
The number 4 plate belongs to Jeff Ward of Team Kawasaki. Jeff has had a terrific year, winning the Outdoor National Championship in the 125 class and 1 Supercross as well. The number 5 spot currently occupied by Honda's Johnny O'Mara, but this will probably change tonight with Johnny swapping number 5 for number 1.
Once the gate drops, will you feel much better?
Oh, much better. Right now, even though I got a good-sized lead, I'm just a little bit nervous because there's a lot of money and a lot of, prestige for this championship. And once I get it over with, I'll be a different guy.
Johnny's youngest Honda teammate, 17-year-old Ron Lechine, has a hard-charging style of racing that just netted him a wire-to-wire Supercross win up in Oakland. And young Ricky Johnson, racing for Yamaha, has proven in his short career that he's a rider to watch, not only tonight, but in the future as well. So there you have a few of the top riders in the sport, Larry. But of course, Supercross has that element of unpredictability that could deliver surprises and upsets at any time.
Right you are, Greg Barbacovi, and to illustrate that fact, let's take a look back at some highlights of tonight's earlier qualifying heats. The first one deciding the season championship for Honda's Johnny O'Mara.
Larry, as you remember, Johnny only needed 6 points to clinch the title, and the possibility of his doing it in a qualifying heat was the main topic of conjecture in the early part of the evening. And then came Warren Reed.
Warren Reed, a privateer from Midway City, California, came off the starting line like a freight train to get the whole shot and proceeded to set the pace with a surprise Johnny O'Mara right at his heels.
Larry, Warren's been racing professionally for 10 years now and is coming off a serious injury that sidelined him for most of the season. But he doesn't seem to be having any problems now. With Honda's Johnny O'Mara and Ron Lechine hot on his tail, Reed flies through the track, delighting the fans who are not accustomed to seeing privateers leading the factory boys.
Reed rides a Yamaha and is one of the top privateers in the sport. Now, for those viewers who may not be familiar with the term privateer, earlier today, David Stanfield asked Reed to define the differences between a privateer and a factory rider.
Warren Reed, what exactly is a privateer?
Well, a privateer is anyone that's not paid a salary by a factory to race their motorcycles. They do basically all the work on their bike themselves or hire somebody, a mechanic or somebody, to do the work for them.
Can a privateer win a race against the factory boys here tonight?
No.
Why?
There's just too much advantage that the factory riders have, and plus the fastest riders are all riding for a factory, so I think it's, it'll be a cold day in hell before a privateer wins a Supercross race.
Well, you being a top privateer, what are you hoping for?
Cold day in hell.
I'll say one thing for Reed, Larry. He's definitely a realist about things, but right now he's giving those factory riders a run for their money.
Yes, he is, but not for long, Greg. Coming hard into the first turn off the front straightaway, O'Mara drives hard to the inside and simply powers his way past Reed, taking the lead up into the peristyle, and he quickly settles the issue.
Well, looking at this replay here, Larry, we can see that O'Mara's tactic was to apply power and acceleration at the moment Reed was braking for the turn. Warren lets Johnny get an inside line through the S turn, and with some aggressive racing, O'Mara is able to power past him and take the lead.
Aggressive is certainly the right description for O'Mara's racing style. He's done it so many times the past this season. O'Mara grabs the lead and proceeds to put distance between himself and the rest of the pack. Greg, O'Mara doesn't seem content with just a good, comfortable race here. He's racing like he's got a horde of Mongols on his tailpipe.
Well, Larry, this clearly illustrates why Johnny deserves the title of champ this year. All he really needs to accomplish in this heat is to stay up near the front and play it safe to lock up the title. But it's not his nature to relax during a race. He wants that title badly, and he's going to finish the season the same way he started in Anaheim, full throttle and all out.
There's your new overall Supercross champ, Johnny O'Mara, a happy man and a deserving winner. But though one issue had been decided, the evening's racing was only just beginning. The second qualifying heat saw 2 more of Supercross's racing giants, David Bailey riding for Honda and Yamaha's Brock Glover, battling head-to-head as they've done all season long.
Larry, David just got the hole shot there with Glover climbing right up his back tire. Now, after watching teammate O'Mara take that #1 Supercross plate away from him, I'm sure that David felt that a win in his first heat of the night might help soothe some of the disappointment he felt. Now, he got off to a great start here. You can see he's got about a 3, maybe even a 4 bike length lead over Glover as they get about halfway through the first lap. Now they're on the north end of the Coliseum. Glover's starting to come up on the outside over there by Miller Mountain.
Bailey still in front. Glover right on his back tire on that back straightaway as they go over the triple jumps. But watch this. Approaching a hard left turn through a series of rattling stutter bumps, Bailey swings too wide, opening the door for Glover to slash inside of him, cutting close to the hay bale and cutting off Bailey's line. Glover is a master of tight turns, and Bailey's momentary lapse in concentration allowed Brock to squeeze through the narrow opening and into the lead.
Obviously, the race is far from over. We've still got a little bit of time left out there on the track. The gap in between first and second place is not that big. Brock's only up in front by about 4 bike lengths, and Bailey, as we said, he's got some pride that he wants to maintain.
Into that peristyle, unique only to the Coliseum. They go out of the crowd sight into the blackness, come back around, and drop almost 80 feet down to the floor of the Coliseum. It is still Glover in front on the white Yamaha with Bailey right on his back tire.
Now we're getting ready to move into the very last lap of the race. Now, Larry, the top 2 finishers will both transfer into the main event, but as we discussed a little bit earlier, pride is very important to David Bailey right now. He's lost the #1 title for Supercross. He wants to be able to show everyone here at the Los Angeles Coliseum that he's still capable of taking home the big main event win. Here they go on their last lap up into the peristyle. They'll come shooting back down, as you said, 80 feet onto the floor of the Coliseum. A long way back down. Now at this point, as we're getting close to the checkered, you'll see Bailey making one last valiant passing attempt. There he goes down right there. His desperation led him to cut the turn too sharp, and down he goes, giving Brock a clear road to the checkered flag and the preliminary win.
Though he finished second in the heat and would continue on into the main event, it was a somewhat deflated David Bailey who took the back seat to Yamaha's Brock Glover in qualifying heat #2.
Let's look at it from another angle, Larry. It was David's last chance to go for the win, and right there he leaned over too far and his front end just washed out from underneath him.
And down he went. There's a lot more exciting racing action to come, so stay with us. We'll be right back with more exciting Supercross from the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Welcome back to the Los Angeles Coliseum and the Superbowl of Motocross. I'm Larry Huffman with Greg Barbacovi and Dave Stanfield. The track, you might have noticed tonight, is very fast. Now, tracks in Supercross racing are engineering marvels. They're built within 5 or 6 days prior to the race, and they're built in facilities that are not normally used for motorcycle racing. Let's go to the founder of Supercross, Mike Goodwin, for a description on tonight's Superbowl of Motocross track.
We're taking the advice of the right magazine editors, we think, some of those key experts, and integrating just enough of the what we call rough stuff, treacherous, technically challenging obstacles back into the racetrack, but still keeping the fast parts to try to hit a happy medium to achieve what we feel is real critical for the television viewer. That is speed and the perception thereof. To try to hit a happy medium between the very, very fast track we developed for the Rose Bowl and the extremely demanding tracks with a lot of technically challenging obstacles that we've had in the past, we combined the best of both worlds, we feel, here at the LA Coliseum. Still went with a very wide start area, which is always critical. Kept it wide as long as we possibly could. We've raised the jumps slightly here at the Coliseum and put in 2 of them, the second one being higher than the first one. For the turn at the end of the track, we put a very high berm, very smooth, and kind of an S switchback with an inside berm on the second one. Tried to straighten out the uphill shot in the peristyle. Sometimes in the past we have inadvertently made it a little jiggly, so a guy didn't have a straight shot to the top. At the top we put 2 berms, again inside and outside line, to keep the speed up and the racing close. No bumps in between. Really involved design on the 2 berms before the riders jump out of the peristyle to give them as much speed as possible out of the peristyle jump. Then as we turn right to carry us back out on the field, we have both an inside berm, lower, an outside berm, higher, with a very smooth area. In fact, we made a real effort to make it a smooth area with very little bumpy, rough dirt on it. To take him real hard right into another berm to the left, which brought him to our only concession, frankly, to a rough track, and that is a section of whoop-de-doos. Now we're into the very long straightaway where the riders really get going. And for the first 2 jumps there, we tried to put jumps that the riders wouldn't have to back off on the throttle much to keep the speed up. An opportunity to do 50 to 60 miles an hour as they go over the finish line jump before they did get to some jumps that they in fact did have to slow down for. 6, 4, and 5 foot, that some of them, which we didn't plan on, are double jumping, and the fans really do like it when these guys do double jump. The riders come into another section of what we call washboards. After those, they go through a hard berm, inside and outside, back into some more washboards, you might say. They're ready to go back on a fast section. They go through a high berm and 2 jumps that throw them up in the air before they go back onto the start line straight, where they really, really get up a lot of speed, 70 plus miles an hour.
Thank you, Mike Goodwin, and our compliments and thanks to the many people involved in designing and building tonight's track. Here's the start of qualifier number 3. It's Yamaha's Ricky Johnson out in front, with Team Suzuki's Mark Barnett all right on the back tire, and he goes around. It's Barnett taking the lead. Greg?
You know, Barnett's been riding a Suzuki for 8 seasons, Larry, his entire professional career, so he knows how they work. Now, his style, offense and intense, so much so he suffered a concussion earlier this year, back in Dallas, I think it was. At any rate, his style has earned him the nickname, the Bomber, something that you call him all the time.
That's right. I think I came up with that nickname, the Bomber, and that's exactly his riding style. A tough, gutty young street fighter from Illinois, now living in Alabama. Mark the Bomber Barnett, built like a football halfback. Johnson right on his back tire on that back straightaway with a jump, flying through the air. The crowd screaming, and Johnson goes by on the inside. Ricky Johnson in front of Mark the Bomber Barnett. The Yamaha pits are going crazy.
Yeah, you know, not only that, just a week ago, maybe it was 2 weeks ago at the Superbikers out of Carlsbad, Ricky coming off a great race out there where he diced with Howerton and Glover. Of course, Howerton took the win, but Johnson proved that he is a guy who's got a big career in front of him.
The legs flailing the air on Barnett. Oh, and there goes Ricky Johnson off the track, and that puts Barnett past him. Ricky mistaked a gap in the hay bales in the course for the approaching turn. Johnson has to turn around, get back in the course again, and Barnett has blown back into the lead.
You know, Larry, I'm not sure if Ricky suffered a lapse in concentration, was just fooled by the opening in the bales. Nevertheless, a costly mistake for him, because even as he's diving furiously to catch Barnett, and indeed did gain back a lot of ground, Barnett takes the checkered flag. You can't afford a mistake like that with a rider like the Bomber.
Well, the only persons that benefited from that were the fans. They love that wild racing. Qualifier number 4 turned out to be the gem of the preliminary heats with Team Kawasaki's Jeff Ward, the Flying Freckle, rocketing into the start, closely followed by number 28, Privateer Jim Hollywood Holly. Ward is not an easy rider to pass when he's got the lead. He rides hard and he rides smart. But as you indicated earlier, Greg, there's an element of unpredictability in Supercross racing. And that point was proven very shortly through the whoop-de-doos at the foot of the peristyle. Watch this now, when Ward takes the hard right-hander too wide and allowing alert Jim Holly to zip past him in the lead.
You know, Holly's another privateer who rides with authority and determination, and he's always been a thorn in the side to the factory riders, well, as evidenced by this surprise pass we just saw on Jeff. Now, Jim, he comes from Northridge, California, and he has been a factory rider himself in the past. Now he's privateering on a Yamaha.
Formerly a Can-Am rider, Jim Hollywood Holly in front now on a privateer Yamaha. He drives himself to the races, pays his own mechanic, and Ward trying to go by in second spot. He's holding on to second spot as Holly is out in front.
You know, the other guy you should probably mention back in third place, you've got A.J. Whiting. Still, nonetheless, the top 2 positions here, the most important, those are the 2 guys who are going to transfer to the main event.
Holly held his slim lead over a frustrated Jeff Ward through most of the race. He was continually fighting off Ward's efforts to get him until the final lap, when Ward, in the same spot on the track where he made his initial mistake, took the same turn wide again. Only this time he used the wide line to give himself room to accelerate, clearing 2 jumps on the fly and putting himself in perfect position to pass Holly. You just saw him on the back straightaway.
You know, Jeff glanced at Jim as he flew past him, and then he'll never again look back until he takes the checkered flag and a place in the lineup for the main event later on tonight.
Jeff Ward out of Mission Viejo, California, flying on that factory Kawasaki. He takes the victory. Holly is second. And a lot of fans all over Southern California, both Ward and Holly, were happy with the results of that race. It was a knockdown, drag-out brawl. Greg, let's take this opportunity now to look back 6 months to Pasadena, California, and the Rose Bowl Supercross, where Jeff Ward was again a significant part of the racing. It was a warm, sunny Southern California day, the kind of day that brings Supercross fans out in force to cheer, to socialize, to soak in the sun, and have a heck of a good time.
Everyone, let's party!
And as the sunny day became a balmy summer evening, the excitement rose, the tension mounted, and the racing promised to be intense. We'll return to the Rose Bowl after a brief pause. Stay with us. Welcome back to Pasadena, California and the Rose Bowl as we continue our coverage of the Super Bowl of motocross. The Rose Bowl event marked the midpoint of the Supercross season. And as the evening's racing progressed, it became apparent to the 70,000 people on hand that two of the top factory riders, Team Yamaha's Brock Glover and Kawasaki's Jeff Ward, were the two men to watch. All night long through the qualifying, Jeff and Brock dueled in the dirt. Ward taking the lead, only to be passed by Glover, who seemed to thrive on the track's high-speed straightaways and torturous obstacles. Riders like Johnny O'Mara, Ricky Johnson, Ron Lachine, Mark Barnett, and David Bailey were fast and flashy, but it was Glover and Ward who stole the show with their frantic and furious head-to-head battles.
You know, Larry, Brock's bike was running beautifully, and he, being the only motocross rider with 3 Super Bowl victories under his belt, seemed to possess a great deal of confidence and smoothness in his style through the evening. But Jeff hung in there, always a few feet behind, always knocking on the door, always keeping the heat on Glover, but not quite able to get by him.
We call Glover the golden boy of Supercross. He was the youngest national champion ever at 17 years old. He's an intelligent rider, as you'll soon learn. David Stanfield spoke with Brock after one such battle with Ward, and the 24-year-old from El Cajon obviously was very much in tune with that hard, tough Rose Bowl track.
Real quickly, can you take us through the track from the start? You start off in second gear?
Yeah, we usually come out on our bikes in second gear, and that delivers the smoothest amount of power without a wheelie, and sometimes it'll spin the tire a little bit, which holds the front wheel from getting into a wheelie, and then we come down the long straightaway. It's a pretty long start here, and into a dog leg or a chicane, and basically, and it's a left and then a quick tight right that heads up into the stands. And at that point, there's a little bank you can bank off of and take a tight left, come out of the stands off the Coca-Cola catapult, and into another right-hander, which proceeds into another tight left. That's real tricky because they have a little inside off-camber turn in there, and then into the straightaway where they have 3 jumps here right in a row, and the last one you land in a pretty deep sand pit, so you got to have the bike perfectly straight when you land so the sand doesn't grab your wheel and make you fall. Come down the end of the long straight after the sand, and you take a left over a tabletop jump, as we call it. It's a flat-topped plateau jump. You land, basically, I try to land on the downside for the smoothest landing, into a tight left, then leads you right into the KMET rockers, as they call them here, and they're a bone-jarring set of jumps, about 6 or 7 bumps right in a row, leads into the finish line and down the long straightaway, off the jump and back into the start.
Great. What's your top gear, your top speed on this track?
Oh, I'd say we're doing about 60, 70 miles an hour off that finish line straightaway, tapped out in about 4th gear.
Tremendous speeds being generated on this track tonight, and we're ready for the start of the main event. They're off, screaming down the front stretch, with Jeff Ward grabbing the lead, Glover right behind him, followed by Bailey, O'Mara, and Lachine. It is Jeff Ward in front on the KX250 Kawasaki with Glover right on his back tire like a crocodile on a duck. The suspension taking a terrible pounding as they get set for that peristyle uphill. Ward in front, Glover running second, Lachine in third. Glover tries to go on the inside, and Ward slams a screen door in his face. They rocket up the grandstands. Ward's rear tire showering Glover with dirt, and Glover runs into him. Ward and Glover slamming into each other. And it is Glover going out in front.
Glover's got the lead again, Larry, and Ward's frustrated, maybe a little furious right now. He just can't seem to stay in front of Glover's Yamaha. Ward's not going to give up, though. There's lots of laps left in the race, and Jeff is clamping onto Glover like a dog's teeth on a mailman's leg. I think that Brock's confidence is the factor right now that he's working off of. He likes the track, he likes the speed, and he's got the advantage of working off of Jeff's braking points in the turns. He picked the perfect spot on the track to make his move, and he pulled off a classic strong arm pass while Jeff was concentrating on making that tight right-hand turn.
It is Glover in the lead, 6'1" out of El Cajon, California. The crowd is going crazy. He's got a lot of fans here tonight. Glover in front, Ward running second, and Glover trying to put as much distance between himself and Ward as possible. What a race!
Yeah, Ward's thinking right now, though, he can't let Brock get too far in front of him if he stands any chance at all to retake the lead. He's got to match Glover gear for gear and move for move, sticking to him like a shadow as close as he can. He's making a move now.
And there goes Ward, and there goes Glover.
Glover. Ward trying to pass in midair, and Glover cut him off. Now Ward comes back and hammers again at Glover, and Ward drives Glover to the outside. They are starting to lap the slower riders, and Ward is in front.
He closed the door on him real great there, Larry. He waited for a weakness in Brock's armor, any weakness, and he found it right there. A small mental mistake. He was able to move on to go for the win.
Jeff Ward wins it. Glover is stunned and chagrined, been able to hold Ward off all night, but now with the money and the title on the line, he succumbs to one of his own tricks, and Team Kawasaki's Jeff Ward snatches the victory away from him. We visited with Jeff Ward at his lovely home on the shores of Lake Mission Viejo in Southern California, not far from the Pasadena Rose Bowl and not long after his Rose Bowl victory. And he gave us some insights regarding his racing strategies and Jeff Ward's beginnings in the sport of motorcycle racing.
5 laps or so to go, I knew that I had a couple spots to pick on the track where I could pass Brock. And because of our qualifiers, I stuck behind him the whole way to the finish and didn't get him. I knew I just needed some more time out there. The track was fast, and there was a few good spots to pass on him, so I was kind of waiting it out until he made a mistake, and he wasn't making any mistakes. And it got down to last 2 or 3 laps, and I figured it was time to make him make a mistake. So I just kind of stuck underneath him and pushed him out in a corner, and I made a really clean pass on him. And from there, I knew that at the time left that there was no way that he was going to pass me back. When I first started riding, I think I was around about 4 and a half. I went out with my dad. He used to race motocross, and so I used to go out with him. He used to put me on the gas tank and just ride me around. And eventually, he felt I was big enough to handle it myself, so he got me a little mini bike, and I just kind of followed him around from there, and it took off from right then.
Even at an early age, Jeff showed an extraordinary talent for riding and began winning races at local tracks. We asked him if his childhood dreams involved someday racing professionally.
I think I thought about just winning again the following week. And, I never thought about that long. When I was 7 years old winning, I never thought about I'd be doing it at age 23. It never, occurred to me. Motocross has come a long way since then. And I just figured I'd like to go out, and I just wanted trophies, I think, at that time. Put them up in my room, so I was going week to week to get those first place trophies, and I think that got me the mental attitude of winning at a young age.
In the course of our talk, Jeff also commented on his attitude toward racing as an occupation, as opposed to racing as a hobby.
As a job, on the weekend, definitely. On the Sunday, it's a job, but, I love riding, so that part of it's fun. It's got to be fun for you to do really good at it. And but the job part is the training, the day by day. Having to ride is different than the person going out on the weekend for fun to ride. If they have to ride every day, it becomes a job. And the training part of weightlifting, running, and all that stuff is the most difficult part. But the racing aspect of it is really fun.
And as a footnote to that last comment, Jeff added that winning was the most fun of all, and he planned to do much more of it in the future. We're back at the Los Angeles Coliseum with more racing action. Now here's that bonus race Greg and I spoke of earlier, the Miller Masters. An all-out sprint with a winner taking home a check for $30,000. The top riders in the sport of motocross are on the starting line for this one. It's an invitational race, and most of these riders have at least one Supercross victory to their credit this year, and those who don't are still top-ranked riders. They line up for the start of the Miller Masters.
Look at this, Larry. Brock Glover has put on a pair of hot pink JT leathers and a bright pink helmet. I got no idea why.
Well, he better win. Maybe he feels they'll bring him luck, Greg. But I'll tell you, it's going to take more than just luck to win this race. The combined years of experience these riders have would take us into the next century, and you can bet they'll be putting every ounce of that experience to use, trying to capture that $30,000 first prize. We're ready for the start, and the crowd is standing. They're off. It looks like Glover grabbing the lead in those shocking pink leathers into the first turn, followed by Lachine, O'Mara, Barnett, and Ward. Yes, it is Brock Glover in front, up the peristyle incline. Glover ahead of the pack in that flashy pink outfit. I don't know if the crazy colors are giving him that extra bit of luck, but he's going to have to deal with a snarling bunch of tigers racing right in his tailpipe.
They're going to have to give him a little bit of pride, Larry. He's going to have to win looking like that. Look, down in the whoop-de-doos now, Johnny O'Mara has passed Lachine.
So now we've got Brock Glover in the lead, looking strong with Johnny O'Mara, Ron Lachine, Jeff Ward, and Mark the Bomber Barnett right behind him. These guys are riding like there's no tomorrow.
Well, there's no second chance for that big check, Larry. This racing is some of the most intense we've seen so far tonight.
Brock Glover, the golden boy, we're going to call him the pink boy now, seems to be putting distance between himself and O'Mara. He is riding full throttle on the gas. Look at the way he handles himself and his bike over this treacherous track. It's a good example of the speed and strength needed to race motocross. Those bikes are bucking like Broncos under these guys, but they're totally under control. It's if the bikes themselves were extensions of the riders, almost like a part of their bodies.
Well, Larry, as you know, the majority of these riders have been riding and racing dirt bikes ever since they were little kids, just like Jeff Ward, whom we saw earlier. So they've had years of practice negotiating similar types of obstacles, twists, and jumps, just like we've got on the track here tonight.
Brock Glover grew up in El Cajon, California, Greg, and he still lives there. It's a region full of hills, semi-desert geography, which is exactly like the type of terrain the motocross thrives in, and Supercross tries to duplicate with its tracks. Most of these riders grew up and still live in parts of the country similar to this. So for them, riding motorcycles through terrain like that is like taking a walk through the park.
Well, Larry Glover is certainly making it look easy right now, but he really doesn't have any time to relax because the riders behind him, O'Mara, Lachine, Ward, and the rest, are just as familiar with tough tracks as he is. He seems to have a comfortable lead right now, but you can bet that he's aware of all of their presence close behind with that $30,000 first place check on the line.
And he is not letting up at all. Glover is flying through the course. Greg, I'm surprised at the lead he's been able to establish for himself. As we get deeper into the race, he seems to be lengthening the distance between himself and the other riders.
Well, he's really screaming through the straightaways faster than anybody, and he's taking those jumps very smoothly here, too. Well, being in front, he's got the advantage of being able to pick the best lines. He doesn't have to fight for them like everyone else does in the pack. So his pace is consistent and very strong. The rest of the riders back in the pack, well, they not only have to deal with the track and trying to catch Brock, but they also have to outmaneuver each other at the same time. So they've got more to worry about right now.
Excellent camera work from our camera crew. There is Johnny O'Mara, a Southern California lad, currently in second spot on the factory Honda. O'Mara is trying to reel in Glover. Oh, and O'Mara goes down. O'Mara washes out the front end. Lachine goes into the second spot, and O'Mara is in third. Let's go down to Dave Stanfield on the track.
The most important two turns on any race course are the turns entering and exiting the straightaway, and this straightaway is something special. They reach speeds of over 65 miles per hour, up to sixth gear. Then they've got to squeeze on both brakes, make it into the first turn, and it seems like this first turn is the biggest part of this racetrack. Back to you, Larry Huffman.
Thank you, David Stanfield. It does seem like that first turn is significant, especially at the start. Most of the riders who have reached that area first tonight have gone on to win their heats.
Or they've used that turn to set up passing moves, Larry. For instance, we saw O'Mara pass Warren Reed there earlier tonight, as did Glover when he caught and passed their qualifying heat.
Glover still leading. A big, big lead for the big man from El Cajon. He wants to be an actor when he stops racing. I'm serious about that. And he's got the matinee idol looks, too.
You know, there's one disadvantage to holding a big lead like Brock's got now, Larry. You can't really tell who's behind you, or how close they are, or if they're gaining on you or not. So it's tough to make adjustments to your pace accordingly. All you can do is just hold on to that throttle and keep going as fast as you can.
That's right, and that's what Glover is doing. But look at what we've got here, Greg. Lachine, O'Mara, and Ward, all the riders who've been chasing Glover have managed to close that big gap behind him, and they're now very close to Brock Glover and threatening.
Glover still with the lead now. You can see that hot pink set of leathers going over there. Lachine in second place, Johnny O'Mara in third. I'm surprised that O'Mara hasn't done better. After winning the Supercross title, I thought he'd be up for the big win here. The white flag is out right now. There's only one lap left to go before Brock takes home that $30,000 prize.
He's got a good lead, but you can see that Lachine is charging. They're approaching some of the better passing sections of the track, and Ronnie knows that if he's going to catch Glover, he's got to do it now or hope for some fatal error on Brock Glover's part.
You know, Lachine driving like a madman. He's got nothing to lose and $30,000 to gain if he can reel in Glover, but Glover continues to pour it on.
Glover, look at him slam into that berm, keeping the throttle wide open and heading for the peristyle. He is on the gas, up the peristyle for the final time.
On the backside, most people can't see. Here with the cameras, though, you can see a tight race for second place. Lachine and O'Mara there, but there's our money boy coming back down the peristyle now from Team Yamaha.
They say you need oxygen at the top of that peristyle. It's a long way down to the bottom. Glover almost off the bike. He is on the gas and heading for the checkered flag. The starter is is reaching for the checkered, and here it comes out. Lachine coming up behind him. It is Brock Glover. Brock Glover wins the Miller Masters at $30,000.
What a victory, Larry, and what a payday. He's going to be able to afford to go anywhere he wants to for a vacation now.
Yep. And there's still the main event left to go as everybody else goes to the store and tries to order a set of those pink leathers, Craig. So while Glover makes his way to the winner's circle, we'll break away and be right back. The finish of the Miller Masters, Brock Glover, Ron Lachine second, Johnny O'Mara third, Jeff Ward fourth, and Mark the Bomber Martin in fifth. And we're back. Let's go down to the winner's circle with Greg Barbacovi and a very happy Brock Glover.
Brock, you're sweating like a... I got to ask, where in the heck did you get these leathers from?
Oh, I got them from JT at John Gregory, and he asked me if I'd wear them, and I looked at him twice. I said, maybe for the Miller race, but I'll have to win that way because they'll laugh at me if I don't.
Let's go down to Dave Stanfield with a peristyle. David?
We got some crazies circling the track in a 4x4 pickup here. It's none other than Mike Bell. He's raced this track 6 times, 2-time winner of the Super Bowl in motocross. Mike, what's the track like tonight?
Well, it's a little bit different than the years that I rode it. It's quite a bit faster in the straightaway parts, and the jumps are a lot more demanding. Smaller, but more demanding. And the start's going to be really important tonight, and you're going to have to make some mistakes in the slower sections. That's the only place there's going to be any passing tonight.
Who's your favorite rider?
I'm looking at Brock Glover. He's looking good in practice and smooth, and he's known to really pour it on for the last race of the year.
Is this his kind of track?
Yeah, he's won this race twice before, too, so he knows this type of ground, and he's a Southern California boy, and this is our kind of dirt.
All right, thanks a lot. Take it easy on this thing. Eh?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Thank you, David Stanfield. I'm Larry Huffman, along with Dave and Greg Barbacovi, calling the action for you. And now we are ready for the main event. Tonight's top qualifiers are on the starting line and ready. This is it. There is no tomorrow for these guys tonight. It's the last race of the season, and there they go, down the front stretch. It is Ron Lachine on the Honda taking the lead into the first turn, around the turn and up into the peristyle, bouncing, slamming into the berm. It is Lachine with Brock Glover right behind, followed by Colt Brecker and Jeff Ward. Out of the crowd sight they go, slipping and sliding. Then down the peristyle jump, Lachine, Glover, and Brecker, and then Ward in fourth spot. There are riders in this race who are fighting for new number plates for next season. Some will move up, others will move down in the rankings. So there's a lot more at stake in this race than just the prize money. The numbered plates on the front of their motorcycles signify the result of 1 year's worth of racing and point accumulation. It's like a badge that the riders wear, letting everyone know where they stand in the world of Supercross racing, and it's earned through the trials, tribulations, successes, and failures of a racing season. Around the starting line turn, Ron Lachine rips open the throttle and rockets down the front straightaway with Glover in hot pursuit. Glover has got to be tired right now after his victory in the Miller Masters, but he's got racing in his blood, and fatigue is not enough right now to keep Brock Glover off the pace. Up the peristyle, around the sweeper, it is Lachine and Glover. 80 feet to the floor of the Coliseum, Lachine in front, then Glover, then Brecker and Jeff Ward, riding through the course like motorized tornadoes over the whoops. And out in front is Lachine, and Lachine is down. Glover spills with him. He goes down with Lachine. The 2 leaders are down. And here comes Colt Brecker and Jeff Ward, jetting around the pileup and taking the lead. Kawasaki is now running first and second with Brecker out in front. My colleague, Greg Barbacovi, has just arrived back in the announcer's booth. Greg, what about these developments?
Oh, it's incredible, Larry. Lachine and Glover were dueling it out almost by themselves at the head of the pack when disaster struck. It's a little damp out in the track, and their front end just washed out underneath Ron Lachine. Glover was the additional victim because he was so close by. Right now, though, we've got 2 new leaders. One of them, number 19, Colt Brecker, has never won a Supercross race, even though he's got a reputation for some great starts.
That was Mike McAndrews, Jeff Ward's mechanic, waving him on frantically. A win here at this race means an awful lot of money to both the riders and to the factories in bike sales. Brecker and Ward are teammates. You're right. On the racetrack, it's every man for himself. And Jeff is looking at Brecker right now as just another obstacle. He's got to get by or through to gain the lead. And Ward catapults into the lead, over the jumps and right past Brecker. Jeff Ward is taking the lead, leapfrogging his way past his teammate. And this just maybe the Rose Bowl all over again. Greg Barbacovi.
Oh, Jeff seems to have found his favorite spot on the track, Larry, because for the second straight time, he swung wide on that turn just before the Diet Coke catapult. and has used that line to accelerate just like a slingshot over the bumps and past the leader. You remember, he used that same tactic successfully against Jimmy Hawley earlier tonight.
But that was in qualifying, and this is the finale. Jeff Ward is the leader now with Goat Brecker in second, and Johnny O'Mara, who also moved up after Lachine and Glover fell, now in third and charging. Up the incline to the peristyle, Jeff Ward increasing his lead, riding like a man possessed, followed by Brecker and O'Mara. They're trying to keep him in sight. Ward's home in Mission Viejo is close by, so he considers Los Angeles to be a hometown crowd. He would love to win this one in front of the hometown fans, and right now, barring any unforeseen circumstances, Jeff Ward is in the best position to do it.
Well, Larry, just as we saw Brock Glover doing the Miller Masters, Jeff's pulling away from the pack. He's picking the best lines with no one around to contend with. Now, unless he maintains this breakneck pace and smart riding, one thing you might have to worry about is the same problem Glover almost ran up against, namely the inability to judge where the rest of the pack is behind him.
And we got a knockdown battle shaping up behind Ward between Brecker and Johnny O'Mara. O'Mara is managing to pull close now to Brecker, and Goat is trying to fight him off. Goat Brecker out of Anaheim, now living in Riverside, down the frustrated, looks behind it. Here comes O'Mara. O'Mara goes after Brecker again into the first turn. It is O'Mara swinging wide and going in front. O'Mara slams into Brecker. Brecker stops, stunned. And it is Johnny O'Mara now in second spot, and he's going after Ward.
You know, that was a classic passing move, Larry. They call that just blocking the door on him, slamming the door shut. That aggressive maneuver, well, it's a lesson in strong-arm racing tactics that these professionals have to use. He simply squeezed by Brecker, then slammed the door shut so he could get by as he went up the peristyle.
And now we've got another battle for second, Greg Barbacovi. Ricky Johnson of Team Yamaha has blown by. There's the white flag. It is Johnson into third spot, right behind O'Mara. 1 lap to go. O'Mara's going to have to forget about Ward for the moment so I can fend off Johnson's charge. The crowd is on its feet screaming. Ward's running away with this one, but there's explosive racing taking place between O'Mara and Johnson back down the road.
Larry, I'm going to run downstairs and get an interview with the winner. Take it away.
It is Jeff Ward in front. Team Kawasaki, the crowd standing, screaming, cheering, going crazy. 70,000 people blowing their mind. O'Mara trying to move up on Ward, but Ward is going for it in the final lap. He is pumped, he is happy, and he's going for the big burst tonight. Jeff Ward comes off the peristyle jump through the cold night air to the floor of the Coliseum. He's got 3 or 4 turns to go, and Jeff Ward is going to win the big one. The Miller Superbowl of Motocross here at the Coliseum. The crowd is cheering. O'Mara trying to reel him in. No, he's not going to be able to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Ward, Team Kawasaki wins the Miller Superbowl of Motocross.
This has got to be a bump here at the Coliseum, huh? What are you thinking right now?
Everything went well. I think Brock and Machine went down, which gave me an opening. Had to get by Brecker, and he was helping me a little bit out there, in second. I could pull away a little bit, and everything worked out great.
That was kind of a surprise to see Brecker up there doing so well, wasn't it? Was that a help to you?
Oh, definitely. It helps when there's other riders on my team up there, and he rode it really well. Really good race, and I don't know what he placed, but it's probably one of the best races of his year.
Tell me, after going ahead and taking the Nationals win here at Supercross, does this still mean something to you after that national title?
Oh yeah, it's the last race of the season. Heading at the stadium championship, I had a lot of bad luck, but this is going to help me out for the beginning of next year.
That's true. That was a tough fall up at Sacramento. So what are you looking for next year? You'll still be on Kawasaki.
Right, just signed a contract with Kawasaki yesterday. So you see Team Grima up front for a few more years.
A few more years? It's more than 1?
More than 2.
More than 2. All right, so Kawasaki has got Jeff Ward for quite a while yet.
So Jeff Ward wins the big one here. Brock Glover wins the Miller Masters. The crowd behind both of these young gladiators. Ward takes the victory. O'Mara second, Johnson third, Goat Brecker fourth, and Brock Glover fifth. An exciting night of racing here at the Los Angeles Coliseum. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm Larry Huffman along with Greg Barbacovi and David Stanfield saying thank you for joining us.
That's another edition of On Two Wheels, and one more race documenting our story of the history of Supercross from 1985. David Bailey, Jeff Ward, and young Ricky Johnson take us into the next chapter of this exciting sport. I'm Larry Huffman, asking you to tune into our show next time for another episode, so we can show you how much fun it is to ride on two wheels. From all over the world, the greatest Supercross riders converge right here on two wheels. I'm your host, Larry Huffman, and in this episode, we take you back to the World Supercross Finals from the Los Angeles Coliseum to trace another step in the history of Supercross. Let's join Greg Barbacovi and David Stanfield as the world comes together in Los Angeles to see who will be crowned the World Supercross Champion of 1985. This race documents a little controversy in that during the end of the final race, you'll see what motocross racers called sandbagging it.
On Two Wheels, the history of Supercross is brought to you in part by Cycle News, America's weekly motorcycle newspaper. By Moto Video Home Entertainment, the exclusive home video supplier of America's toughest race on home video, the Blackwater 100. And by your local Suzuki Pro Level RM motorcycle dealer. Suzuki, the ride you've been waiting for.
It's been nearly 10 years since the Europeans were last here in America, but tonight, in Los Angeles, the World Supercross Finals, the Nippondenso Supercross Special, will present over 60 of America's and Europe's top motocross stars on a track that has been described as the roughest ever by both the Americans and Europeans. You'll see all the top American stars, Bailey, Ward, Lachine, and Hawley, and the top Europeans, Jan Van Dorn, Strebos, and Jobé. They'll all be here tonight.
Los Angeles Coliseum for tonight's telecast of the World Supercross Finals. I'll be covering the interviews and the down on the track action with the riders. And upstairs will be Rod Etchenberg, my colleague. He'll be covering the action as he sees it.
Thanks very much, Brock. This is Greg Barbacovi along with Rod Etchenberg. And first tonight, we're going to take a look at this incredible Supercross track. It starts off, of course, with a fairly short starting line. A backward starting gate that falls back towards the riders, which prevents them from getting a jump. Should the rider begin to take off too early, his front tire becomes embedded in that upside-down U-shaped figure and keeps him from going anyplace. After that short start, they funnel down into a very narrow first corner. Take a look again at how important it is to get a good start here, because very quickly you can get blocked out, and that proves to be a disadvantage on a short Supercross track. Next up, you'll see the series of jumps that will send the riders flying higher into the air than on any other section of the track. Of course, that section is immediately followed by a short series of jumps that go through a corner at the same time. A lot of guys are going to go down here, especially at the beginning of the race, because they're so bunched up together. And speaking of bunched up, look at how close these stutter jumps are. These riders are going to expect a lot of trouble here just because of how tough they are to go over at a time. You can expect to see a lot of passing in this section as different riders of different abilities go through their side-by-side. Next up, it's a tabletop finish line. Just that, a table-like surface on top with two perpendicular sides. 4 jumps in a row, probably the most spectacular of all of the spectator obstacles, and then the riders go towards what is unique in Supercross, an actual uphill and downhill where riders go riding up through the seats of the Coliseum, out of crowd's view, and then back down a 90-foot section of the track which is laid right over spectator seats. Finally, one last series of short jumps, a large canyon in between, which most riders will take 2 at a time. Too short for much passing, but you'll see some stylish cross-ups and bike handling there. And now, we're ready for the first race.
This is a 250 card sideways right now.
He is down. We're looking for a go.
Looks like Rick Johnson on that privateer Yamaha is right in there.
On the outside, they're side by side, three abreast. He's running in second spot. Third now as he goes through those rockers.
Yeah, first place is George Jobé, the world champion twice in the 250 class, and now he's back on his familiar size after a year off in the 500s. He's back to 250s. Oh, we got Eric Keogh on the Suzuki challenging through the whoops.
Okay. Now looking at Keogh coming back into second place and coming out, and they should get that green for go now. They do. Now, number 11 running in the lead.
George Jobay running in the lead. The second spot rider, the number 6, running in second. Ricky Johnson running in the second spot now, the number 5, rather.
I'll tell you, Rod, this seems to be a surprise to a lot of people. The Europeans aren't usually noted for their quick starts.
Definitely, Jobay is looking a lot better than the last time we saw him at a stadium.
Oh, and there goes Rick Johnson inside, and Rick Johnson puts a classic pass.
Oh, Johnson set him up and did it to him. Looking at him now as they come back through that backstretch area, out of the gate area. Flying high, Johnson now.
We're here with George Jobay, two-time 250cc world champion here in the Kawasaki pits. George, you come over from Belgium, racing here in America on the Supercross. You've done it once or twice other that I've recalled, but this one is a very big race here in the LA Coliseum. What are your chances tonight, and how do you like the track?
I like the track, and tonight I try to go as fast as possible and try to be first qualify. It will be very important for me. And then if I'm qualified, I will do 110% because I want to be good tonight.
Well, that's an approach that we haven't heard much. Most of the riders are talking about possibly hanging back in their heat race and trying to get in that first row of the start. And you're wanting to go as fast as you can right from the heat and then transfer directly into the main event. Is this going to create a problem if you end up in the second starting wave?
I don't know. It's a hard question because first I have to see how I will go. I don't know really. I know that I can be good, but I don't know how much.
Good interview, Brock. Some good information there. It's the last lap of the race, and look at that. Ricky Johnson taking his hand off the bars. He does it again, waving to the crowd that he's number 1. People here at the Coliseum, almost 50,000 of them were shocked to see a European streak out to the lead. But now, Ricky Johnson, Mr. Rad and Bad himself, taking hands off the bars, his feet off the pegs. This is not what you would call a conservative racer. Just take a look at the shorts that he's got on there. The red pants that you see around his knees, those are protective leather pants. But the flowered business above there, that's a pair of baggy shorts like you might wear out to go surfing. And again, on double jumps, Ricky Johnson waving to the crowd. He's real happy to be where he is right now because the machine that he's riding has not been tuned by the Yamaha factory. That is a machine that was brought to him by a private citizen, somebody who wanted to see Ricky do well out here. He's between contracts. He was signed with the Yamaha factory, but for next season will be going over to Honda, and so finds himself in a lull between the two business agreements. Looking at the crowd, he ought to be stylish here. Look at that, 1 foot off the peg as Ricky Johnson takes the first heat win, and that should be Jobay coming across the line in second place.
RJ, Ricky Johnson, they call you Flash. You are just a madman out there. The crowd loves you.
Yeah, I'm just having a good time. I broke away from George really early on in the race. He didn't seem to be a problem. I was just sort of feeling the bike. I was a little bit nervous. I had a flat before the race. I was a little bit keyed up. So I think that's where my start suffered, and he cut me off a couple times. But as soon as I got out in the open, I was a little bit bored. I thought I'd put on a show for the people.
Easy track?
Easy track, yeah. I wasn't having no problems with any of the jumps. A couple riders did, but it's not doesn't seem to hinder me any, so I'm doing good.
All right, great show.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
It's the 250 card sideways right now. Oh, it looks like Scott Burnworth, the newly signed Yamaha rider from El Cajon, California, had to start along with Johnny O'Mara, number 5 on the Honda. Excuse me, Johnny's running number 3.
O'Mara running up the front end, looking like Burnworth in the second spot,
and another young rider, Terry Fowler from El Cajon. They're neighbors with Scott Burnworth is riding, and also neighbors with me are running in second, third. Now yes. Fowler fell back to 4th. And you see O'Mara, the classic season veteran. He's been the champion, a Supercross champion, taking the lead early here, pulling a little bit of distance on Burnworth. Does a little one-hander to show for the crowd.
Exactly. O'Mara, he was Supercross champion, not last year, but the year before. And Brock, I was talking with him before the race, and Johnny really sees the Rodeo Cup here as a stepping stone to get back into the form that won him the Supercross title a couple years back. You can see him really attacking the course here early on to establish himself as a front runner. There he is taking a look back over at his shoulder to see where the runner-up is. Now that's Scott Burnworth. Brock, a new teammate of yours this year. Burnworth, you can see in the orange and black, used to be on a Suzuki. You were talking with him before the race.
We're here with Team Yamaha's rider, Scott Burnworth, in the pits. And Scott, after a 3-year absence with Yamaha, you're back with them. Tell me, is that going to pose a problem tonight, do you think, or are you used to the bikes?
No, not at all. I feel really good on the bikes tonight, and you know, I've had about 2 weeks on them, and I feel really confident, you know, over the jumps and everything, and I just feel really excited about riding Yamahas again.
It'll be a tight race here. Be real curious. Gabor's coming up on the inside, slamming into that finish line jump. I mean, the G-forces are tremendous there. That jump's nearly straight up and down for these guys to accelerate. Oh, and Burnworth, our first rider, we're seeing finally somebody lacking and hanging back. It's very interesting to see Burnworth just riding back there. He's riding back in the 4th place, and he knows what he's doing, and we're gonna see if that's gonna pay off. Yeah. I can't blame him a bit, Rod. The main event is all the marbles here, and I'll tell you, every person here. Look, Johnny O'Mara's pulling off. You've got it. Johnny O'Mara doing the same thing right there. Pulls off. Eric Gabors is riding at a quarter throttle pace right ahead of him, and he doesn't know what to do, and they don't know what to do. It's great to see this. Gabors is...
He's trying to wait for 12, AJ.
Gabors is sitting there trying to wait for, he doesn't know because he knows a second will put him in the wrong gate. He's trying to sit back and wait for O'Mara to pass him, and O'Mara won't. And here comes Burnworth with another rider, not sure, a lapped rider, not sure what's going on with Burnworth. All these top
riders. Here's the checker flag, and I think the finisher, let's see what
Let's see the winner. No,
they gave it to the wrong one.
Winner was AJ Whiting.
AJ Whiting, the number 12, won it, and they gave him the white flag.
Yep, AJ Whiting has won the race. Gabors comes in second. Johnny O'Mara, 3rd place, and now we see Scott Burnworth.
We're listening to the announcer right now. Johnny O, I think you came in 3rd. Did you?
Yeah, I know I did get 3rd. I had it, you know, I knew that I was in the lead, and the way the race goes tonight, the final is going to be, you know, a staggered start. And if you get 1st and 2nd, you're going to be in the 2nd row start, and I wanted to get 3rd, so I'm in the 1st row start.
A little sandbagging.
Yeah, but, you know, the way they're putting all these rules in for us, and, you know, I want to win the race, so there's no way you can win the race in the 2nd row, so I'm going to try. That's why I got 3rd.
The name of the game is winning the race, and Johnny O, you're on your way?
I hope so. I hope to put Honda on the board again.
All right, best of luck.
Thank you.
Well, we'll see how that kind of attitude affects the winners, or at least the leaders, of this race. This is the 3rd heat race. Again, the top 2 winners from this event have to start in that delayed start in the main event later on tonight. Jimmy Hawley, number 24, gets off to a bad start. Yamaha in the middle of the pack. He's the guy who is the points leader here in the World Supercross Finals, and that's the guy. Whoa! 3 riders going down right in front of Jimmy Hawley. You can see him over on the right-hand side of your screen, number 24 in the white Yamaha, trying to get back in the race. Here now we're cutting to Hawley on the other side of the track. He's got to ride like a crazy man in order to get back in the field. And as you can see, that motorcycle bucking around just like a bronco in a rodeo. He is having an incredibly tough time trying to get back into the field. Now here's your leader, Ron Lachine, number 6. He runs for the Kawasaki factory. He just signed with Team Green, Kawasaki, a few months ago. This is his first American appearance on a Team Green machine, and he's way out in front. Now you can't help but wonder if he's going to start thinking the same way that Johnny O'Mara did during the last race. At the end of the event, is he going to slow down? Perhaps so. There he is, looking back over his shoulder, trying to find out where the runners-up may be.
Waves to the crowd. Oh, he pretends like he stalls his bike or stalls it on purpose. John Vanderbroek looks at him.
Vanderbroek says, I'm going to stop too.
This is incredible.
Here comes the Phil Larson, 62.
Yeah, Phil Larson's in 3rd.
And Ron keeps looking for Larson, and Larson's no way.
Vanderbroek stops, dude. Come on. He's going to take that old bike.
Oh, I know what's going to happen now. They're all going to stop.
Vanderbroek, look at this. This is Academy Award of the night. He's acting like he hurt himself. Ron stops.
Phil Larson's going to win it. He says, the heck with it.
There it is. And Ron Lachine puts himself exactly where he wants to be. Third place. Vanderbroek.
RJ, Ricky Johnson, Flash, man, you just saw a couple of races. They weren't races. You raced, they didn't.
Yeah, I think that's really chicken of O'Mara and of Lachine. I really thought they were more professional than that. I didn't think that, you know, when I said I was going to come out here, race to win, I'm here to race to win. If you're capable of winning a qualifier, then you should be on the back row. They want to test this rule to see if it's fair. And now, here I am, the only one, and I'm riding a privateer bike tonight. So who's a man and who's chicken is the way I look at it.
Did it ever cross your mind to sandbag?
It crossed my mind, but I really thought it wasn't fair to the people, you know, and it isn't fair to the system. They want to try the system out, see how the second row start works in case if they want to use it for a next year format. And now all these guys are just sandbagging. If I was the crowd, I'd get up and walk home.
Okay, now, say the rules don't change, you're on the back row. Could you possibly come from behind with 50,000 people yelling for you?
Put it this way, the guys who sandbag, they better hope I don't get a hold of them.
Back now to action on the starting line. This is the fourth and final heat race. We've got David Bailey and Jeff Ward, among others, on the starting line. You really got to consider Ward the favorite, although Bailey, he's due for a good one. Not here, though. Bailey really does not get a good start, while Ward streaks to the front of the pack over the 3 jumps. Now you got to begin to wonder, was Bailey's poor start due to a lack of timing on the gate? Or could Bailey maybe be thinking about the acting that he needs to do in order to achieve that first gate start? Remember, it's a 3rd or 4th place finish in this race that will be important to him. That second place rider you saw go down, 54, Russ Wageman, caused a little bit of traffic. That gave Jeff Ward a very large lead. And if Ward is thinking the same way that the other riders were earlier on, he's in a lot of trouble. There's a big space between 1st and 2nd place. Jeff Ward, number 2 on the Kawasaki, recently crowned 250cc national champion. That's an outdoor motocross circuit. Here, of course, Supercross indoors. It's a whole different story right there. He did take the title by 2 points over you, Brock. There's a good picture of David Bailey. Now, David, a bad start, slowly beginning to work his way up through the pack now. He was in 10th place off the starting line, but if he can pass Wageman, oh, and on the inside, he also passes number 14, one of the Japanese riders, Yasu Tofujuki. That'll put him up into, I believe, 4th place. No, that'll make it 3rd. And that's exactly where David Bailey wants to be at this point in the race. A 3rd place finish would allow him to start the main event later on tonight in that all-important front row. Let's move on now. The white flag is out. This is the last lap of the race, and let's see what Jeff Ward is going to do. The Kawasaki rider who took the 250 outdoor title and the indoor Supercross title this year has got a big gap between him and 2nd place. We're waiting for him to come out. Ward has not come out from around the peristyle. We don't have a picture of him, but there on the screen, you can see the area where Ward has come apparently to a complete stop. The question is he waiting for another rider, or did he fall down or break his bike? Here's number 21, your brand new leader, Ricky Ryan, also on a Kawasaki. Ricky comes from San Jose, a real hot up-and-comer on that Kawasaki team. A privateer, which means he does not get direct factory support. However, the factory does help him out with some of his expenses. And there's Jeff Ward looking strong as ever. So even though we didn't see a picture of it, you gotta believe that Jeff Ward was pulling a little stunt out there out of the range of spectators. So you gotta give him credit for that. Ward's still in a little bit of trouble. He's in 2nd place. He's looking over his shoulder because he wants that guy in the red jersey to pass him. That's that Yamaha rider, Russ Wageman. They're moving closer to the finish line. There we have the checkered. Ryan will take the win, so he'll have to start the main event in that 2nd wave. So will Bailey. Bailey came up into 2nd when Ward stopped behind the peristyle. Ward will finish 3rd, and that's exactly where he wanted to be. Dave Stanfield, let's go down to you and find out what our winner has to say.
Okay, it's like roller derby. It's kind of a theatrical scene going on up here. Where were you? What position were you lap number 2 laps to go?
I was in 2nd most of the whole race. I got about an 8th place start and worked up to 2nd in about 3 laps. And
did you think, were you given the win here?
Yeah, I was given the win. Yeah, I was.
Who gave it to you, and do you think it's fair?
I don't think it's right. I think everybody should race to win. I don't think they should slow down at all and let someone else win.
Okay, now, if you had your choice of winning fair and square, would you have?
No, I would not.
You would have held back?
I wasn't going as fast as Jeff.
No, what I'm saying is the question is, if you were in the lead, would you have stayed there or would you have done what Ward did?
I would have won. I would have just kept trying to pull away.
So you're not worried about starting the first pack or the second pack in that main event?
No, I'm not. I'm worried about winning races.
All right.
Thanks.
Ricky Ryan. Now, Rick, you're self-sponsored?
Yeah, my dad helped me out this year to get everything.
Well, why don't you just show everybody and go out and win?
Okay, thanks.
All right, Rick.
Tell them to tape this. And you probably came here to watch people race. But the way it looks now is you got a bunch of people who are afraid to start in the second row, so they stop so they can get a front row start. If this is a race, then let's race. If we're gonna have a motorcycle show, and all you people can go home and we can putt around a track. But I'm sorry for the way the people that I race with act, but I thought they were more professional than that.
You've heard the bottom line. If you're a racer, you want to win, and you win any way you can, but you win within the rules. Jeff, you're within the rules. What's been going on here?
Well, as advertised, there's a European start front row, American start back row. That's how we came here. Then we get here and find out there's a qualifying to make the front row and back row, and it's just not fair, if some guys go out there and sandbag, which I wasn't the first one to do it. And I'm not going to start in the back row and have another manufacturer win the race because of it. They'll get all the glory. So, of course, I have to do the same thing, and that's the way it went with a couple of riders. So then they changed the rule and make it one-man starting gate, which gives me a bad position on the line anyway. So, fair's fair. I'll start from the back row and see what I can do. I just don't want to get hurt out there, but I'll give them a run for the money. But it's going to be hard to catch, David and Johnny because they're going fast, but I'll give it a try.
All right, best of luck.
Thanks.
Okay, we got our first East versus West 125 program going now, I believe, Brock.
Yeah, it is. It's a tight race already coming out in the head. Looks like it's number 2, I think, Rodney Barr, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Rodney Barr from Shelbyville, North Carolina, running up front as we look at him in that second 180. And again, we're going racing this time.
Yeah,
There's no pulling the stops on these. There's 3 motos tonight for these guys, and it's strictly like the good old days now as we look at the number 2.
And we got Mike Jones in second place on a Kawasaki, and this is the racing all out, nothing risked there. Everyone's going for the win here. There's no doubt about that.
So we definitely have the East running up front right now.
This is yes, it's definitely the Eastville. This is their kind of track. It's a hard ground similar to the Southern California. I'll tell you, Rod, I'm surprised to see this too, but Rodney Barr is definitely a competitive rider, a good rider, riding some pro-amateur events and soon to be a top professional rider, I'm sure.
And looking like we have a red plate, a red number in the third spot, or my eyes going bad on me?
I think your eyes are going bad.
Yeah, okay, it is black.
It goes with age, I'll tell you. But
it is Mike Healy, number 2. Yeah, Mike Healy, number 2, the first in third place, the lead Western Division rider, as we look at the 2 Easterners going up front. Again, there's no sandbagging, no slowing on this one.
Oh, really? The 4th place rider just tried to come in on Mike Kronzer on the Honda. He just tried to come in on Healy, and they bumped a little bit, but I'll tell you, they're back out there racing, and they didn't even lose a position. We still see Rodney Barr pulling out ahead. Rodney's a tough rider. And talking to David Bailey, he lives in the same area as Rodney Barr back in Virginia, that area. And he
Excuse me just a minute, Brock. I got to interrupt you right here because speaking of David Bailey, we've got David down in the field right now with our own David Stanfield to talk about that last 250 heat race. So Dave, take it away down there.
Okay, why'd you come in second? Was it you or Rick Johnson gave a pretty emotional speech?
Yeah, well, the whole thing started out, I was in the 4th heat, and I was going to wait and see what everybody did because it's foolish with O'Mara doing that in the 1st heat for somebody after that to try to win the race with O'Mara in the front row. And I thought Johnson was pretty cool about it. And as soon as he saw that guys were doing it, he came down and said, everybody feels the same way. It sucks. It's horrible to turn out that way. It's a joke. But when everybody was booing the riders that were doing it, and I think those guys that don't have quite as much respect, the spectators for them, I thought, I'm going out to win this heat race. And on the second lap, I came down the peristyle when my rear disc brake failed. I had no brake. He thinks I'm riding around slow. I was doing the best I could to stop for the corners, and I went ahead. I saw Ward sitting there just waiting for me. I went ahead and did it. I'm going to try to win this sucker from the back row.
Mike Healy's a couple seconds back he's on the Suzuki. He's also number 2, but a black one designating the Western region. Following him, Eddie Warren, who's won of numerous national amateur championships and now is turning professional or pro-am, I guess this is to be considered. And Eddie's in 3rd. And back in 4th, 5th, and 6th, we have a tremendous battle right now between Billy Frank, Ray Somo, and Bobby Moore going for that position.
And remember, Brock, since this race is running 3 motos, we don't have any of that double gate sandbagging that we've seen in the 250 class. So there's the checkered flag. Number 2 goes ahead and takes the first moto win. Rodney Barr with Mike Healy on a Suzuki in 2nd place.
Eddie Warren, and here comes the battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th. What a close one right now between Ray Somo, Billy Frank, and Bobby Moore. And it looks like Ray Somo on the new Yamaha ride, followed by Billy Frank on another YZ 125.
Brock will jump straight to the start of the 2nd East-West 125 moto.
Oh, Bader's a gutsy rider, and sometimes I've seen it pay off for him, and sometimes it doesn't. But we're going to be seeing some fabulous racing here. He's showing Eddie Warren everything he's got.
I lost him in the first moto. He must have had trouble right off the start.
Yeah, he did. He was probably back 8th, 9th, 10th, somewhere in there. He was farther back. Going into these whoop-de-doos, Eddie Warren looks real well, and Bader's coming on strong. It looks like Bader's driving a little deeper into the corners, and like I said, that's an advantage of being in 2nd place, Rod.
Yep.
He can come in a little harder and watch that. Look at this. Billy Frank coming up on the other Yamaha.
Billy, yes.
Oh, he's coming up on the other. Look at Bader. Bader sneaks by. What a move in the whoop-de-doos. He holds it on. Bader's famous for being a gutsy rider, and I'll tell you.
You bet.
He's coming on real strong right there. He's a jumper. I practice with this guy sometimes, and I'll tell you, this kid can jump like nobody else. I mean, he and Ricky Johnson and myself have been out, and he just amazes Ricky.
Here comes Zoe, right back.
Now he's running 2nd place. He's watching Bader, and he's using Bader as his braking accelerating point, so he's got an advantage. And right here, he's sneaking on the inside. Yes, and what? Oh, they both go down. Look at this. They both go down and pass it on to Billy Frank. I told you those guys were going to get into a, I knew they'd get into a gutsy race.
You know, Brock, this is a real good opportunity to take a second look at this section of the track and set this up. Now, Bader, number 1, knowing this is a wide corner, dives for the inside. Problem is, his momentum carries him to the outside of the berm. Eddie Warren has no place else to go. Eddie goes down, and Bader ends up taking himself out as well.
Oh, this is too bad for Billy Frank. Hopefully he'll slide by and not have to have the race dictated.
Now he's being blocked by the
there he goes.
red number.
Finally gets by. Yep, and sure enough, Rodney Barr lost a little time because of Lapper. Now look, Rodney Barr being let by his Kawasaki teammate. There's a little team tact, as I'd call it, right there. One guy holding back the Yamaha rider, and that also he was an Eastern rider, if you notice. So he was not only the same brand, but he was also an Eastern rider holding back the Western rider, and that's we can't call it for team tactics, but I guess it is. We can call it team tactics. I mean, it's
a little bit of teamwork going there. As here we come.
Yeah, it is. And it comes in the checkered flags coming up right now. It should be a nice win, a very well-deserved win for Billy Frank riding the new YZ 125. Does a
Brock, but the race isn't over yet. Look behind. At the finish line, holy smoke, barely finishes in 3rd place.
Billy Frank, the AMA Rookie of the Year in the 125 class. Billy, now was that a gift or did you earn it?
Well, I thought I blew it when I broke my collarbone. I actually missed 3 races, but I didn't think I was going to get it, but it was a big surprise to me.
Okay, Rookie of the Year. Now, tonight, was that a gift there? Because we had 2 guys in front of you.
Yeah, that was pretty lucky. I was thinking they were going to do that because I knew they were going to battle pretty hard, but I'm glad they did. They crashed.
Good racing. Now, speaking of crashing, this is a tough course, but what do we got down here on your leg? I see a big hole.
Yeah, that was when that happened. I think Rodney Barr did that. I'm not sure. Oh, no, that was the first turn. I almost crashed and went down. I was ready to go, but I saved it.
You're okay, though?
Yeah, just a little scrape, a little patched up.
A little scrape, it just ripped through his leathers, which, have about an 80-pound test on it.
Now we go to the 250 semi. Here are the guys to watch for: Jimmy Hawley, 24 on the Yamaha, and George Holland on a Suzuki. And that looks like Holland out in front.
Yeah, it looks like George Holland right now, and Jimmy Hawley breaks into second place early. Good spot to be in, and look, oh, he's riding hard. I'll tell you, he's right behind George Holland there. Dives the inside, puts his Yamaha right in the lead, and between the second turn of the race, he's already leading it. Great move by Jim Hawley. And I'll tell you, that's important for him because he wants these points. He's got to get out there and ride well in the main event, and he's got to beat the Dutch rider John Vandenberg. And John Vandenberg's on a good bike. He is on my personal. Well, George has ridden the track a lot, Rod. He probably almost has every bump memorized by now, or he sure should. I would think I would. And at this point right now, he's concentrating on what Jimmy's doing, where Jimmy's putting his bike, and he's trying to move around a little bit. Right there, he took a high line, and we see Eric Eaton, who is in third, go down in the back of the film there. And I'll tell you, here comes George Holland and pressuring Hawley right now.
Boy, he's hammering that thing into that jump, in that finish line jump too. I mean, he is bottoming that machine out.
So George right here, it's really in a good spot. His closest competitor for third place fell down. He's gave him a comfortable distance. Okay, here comes George Holland putting his bike on the inside, and he puts it in the pass. That's a classic pass, Rod. I'll tell you, then he rode over to a Suzuki, and he's riding for the factory Suzuki ride, and his father owns a Honda Yamaha dealer, so that's quite a family organization right there. They cover 3 of the 4 major Japanese manufacturers in one family. And George looks very, very good. George is a promising rider. He's coming up, and as you can see, he's very smooth. George trains a lot. He's very much believes in training, and he uses that to his advantage. As you can see, he takes hardly any calculated risks. Very smooth, and does a little stylish there just to show the crowd that, yeah, he's in there. Got a pretty, Jimmy Hawley whips a one-hander.
Brock, let's go back and look at the exact point of the race where Hawley lost the lead. Now here you can see Hawley in the white and Holland in the yellow coming off the peristyle. Hawley here gets a little out of shape coming off this jump. His clutch hand seems to be fanning the clutch a bit. Out of the corner of the eye, he sees Holland hard charging towards the inside. George actually had a slightly straighter and smoother path through that corner, and over the double jumps right there, really fanned it out.
Ricky, there seems to be a lot of difference in the crowd. Spectators watching, they go, well, that guy's not using the clutch, he's just jamming into gear. Here's your clutch. How do you use it, and do you use it in every shift?
No, you don't. Going down straightaways, if the track is really tacky, you might fan it a little bit, but you don't pull it in and completely disengage the clutch, to shift. You just give it a quick fan and jam the gears. But the clutch is mostly important, like through the rockers where it's really slow and coming out of turns. You'll clutch it to get the momentum of the motor, on its way again. So that's the big purpose of the clutch.
Using the RPMs, you start off in second gear a lot. Do you use 2 or 3 fingers?
Well, I use 3 fingers on the start, but I use 2 fingers when I'm fanning it in the race.
Okay, over here, now we've got a really tricky situation in here that not too many people realize. This is the throttle. This is a pretty quick turn, and you've got your front brake, real short little lever here. How do you work both at the same time?
Well, this has been shortened because I just use 2 fingers on my brake lever. I don't like to use my whole hand because this is a disc brake and it brakes really hard, so you don't need no more than 2 fingers to use it. And that also gives you a chance to keep 2 fingers on the throttle, so you can use them both. If you find that you braked a little bit too early, you can gas it, or if you find that you're on the throttle a little bit too late, you can hit the brakes.
So you can come into a turn at high speed, have the clutch in, have the throttle maybe at quarter turn, be using the front brake, pop that clutch, you're in the right gear?
Yeah, that's the one thing about motocross is people don't realize. They think it's just it's like riding a bicycle, but to go fast, your mind has to be going 1,000,000 miles an hour, and it has to all become natural.
Take a guess, how many shifts do you make in one moto?
At least 100.
At least 100 shifts. How many shifts is it going to take to win here at the Supercross at the Coliseum?
At least 100.
All right, best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave Stanfield and Ricky Johnson. Now let's go to the second 250cc semifinal. The 2 guys to watch for here are going to be Russ Wageman and a rider from the Netherlands, Gert Jan van Doorn, number 19 on a Honda. About 4th place off the starting line right here. Brock, you've raced against this guy, haven't you?
I'll tell you, he can be real tough, and he's beat out a few of the American riders, surprised him in a lot of the Supercross when we do compete over there. So he's going to be tough. He's riding it for what it's worth. He's a little wild right now, but he'll smooth it out, I bet. And he's dicing it with Russ Wageman right now and that other Yamaha YZ250. So,
nice jump.
Close race, and he's going for the distance, and he's got it right there. Gutsy rider, good move on his part, I'll tell you right now.
John Van Doorn moving up and does it.
Long ways to come all the way over here, Rod, from the Netherlands to compete in this race. But really, to these guys have been the Supercross. They're motocross heroes over there. They have them. But the Supercross heroes basically lies right here in the United States. And I'll tell you, these guys come over here and to be able to race in front of the American crowd, probably the most famous Los Angeles Coliseum, is a great thing for these guys. They want to do it. He bobbles right there, allowing Russ Wageman to get back by. And look, they're side by side. Side by side on the
back into that lead. Still the main event. Now Wageman with the pressure.
Oh, incredible good shot for Wageman through the whoops. He took that in about 1 or 2. He must only touch once or twice through there. That was a very, very fast effort.
Super rider from right here in Southern California, Russ Wageman with the checkered flag and the win here in the second semi. There's number 19, Gert Jan van Doorn from the Netherlands. He gets second place and also earns a berth in the main event.
We're in the pits with Ron Lachine of Team Kawasaki. Ron, there's been a lot of controversy tonight over this main event, the staggered start, the people staying back in what they would consider cherry picking and trying to get that position so they can go off in the first wave. What do you feel about it?
Well, they told us the rules before the race started about the two-row start, and I was just playing by the rules. I don't want to be sitting on the line when the rest of the guys go in front of you, and it's almost impossible to win the race from a second row start, and I was just trying to overcome that.
On the starting line, this is the third and final moto for the 125 Pro-Am. This is the East versus West shootout. Now, these bikes are smaller than the large 250cc machines that we've been seeing throughout the other part of the program. Here down the hole, looks like number 2, Rodney. But whoa, look at the pileup we got right at the end of the first corner. Remember, we told you that funneling down process after the wide starting line is where a great deal of accidents occur. And sure enough, we had nearly half the field go down. Now, number 20 finds himself up on top. That's Jason Upshaw, a guy we haven't heard too much from tonight. Right now in the black jersey with the lead, Rodney Barr, number 2 on the outside. Again, he's from back east. He was the guy who finished in second place during the second moto, won the first moto. So he is looking best so far tonight in the 125 East versus West shootout as far as the overall win is concerned. Now the other number 2 right next to him on the yellow Suzuki, that is Mike Healy. Now Healy has finished in second place in the first moto. He was not in the top 3 the second time around. Remember the reason that there are 2 number 2s, one of them from the East Coast, one of them from the West Coast. Coming down the peristyle, and boy, here at the bottom you can see just how tall 90 feet can be. From the floor of the Coliseum up to the top, this is the only track in the entire country, remember, that has an uphill and downhill that is actually laid and built on top of spectator seats. Back over to the west end of the Coliseum now, over the whoop-de-doos. These little 125s, a lot lighter than the 250 machines, but have almost identical power. They're only lacking a couple horsepower, and there is an example of some horsepower. Rodney Barr, number 2, was on the outside of that corner and still managed to come up with enough throttle to go all the way around number 2 Upshaw. So a brand new leader, and this will be the second time tonight that he's been on top of the whole pile. Remember, Rodney won the first heat. He finished in second place during the second one, and right now the rider from the East Coast finds himself back up on top again. Rodney Barr only managed second overall throughout the entire year from the entire eastern region as they come down the peristyle again. Uh-oh, Jason in trouble! Holy smoke, just like a Ferris wheel that went all the way around. Jason Upshaw, a classic example of what we call an endo in motocross, as he went end over end over the bars. Let's go back and see if we can get another angle of that very same fall. Jason in a little bit of pain, but paramedics right on top of the situation to look at him. Now watch him as he goes off the jump at the bottom. His back end veers away, he hits the second jump, and that's what completely shoots him off of the seat, over the handlebars, and a complete somersault landing on his bottom side. Here in slow motion, watch the back end slip away towards the left end of your screen. He hits the second jump very hard, and that's what catapults him over the bars and into the cold night air here at the Coliseum. Less than half a lap left to go right now, and again, number 2, Rodney Barr. Looks like Tyson Bowen is the rider back behind him in second place, another Kawasaki rider. Tyson, number 12, closing up a little bit here with just the last half a lap to go. Rodney very firmly has the overall win in his hand. But what more people are interested in are the team tactics that we were talking about earlier. Even though Rodney is from the East Coast and he's got the red jersey, there are plenty of West Coast blue jerseyed riders right behind him, and it looks like that the bulk of those guys in the blue jerseys are going to be taking home the points. So even though the individual title may go to Rodney Barr, the West Coast is going to take the overall title here in the shootout. Checkered flag is out. Rodney Barr with a one-hander, as does Tyson Volan. And it looks like third place is going to be Mike Healy on a Suzuki. Nothing funny at all down in the starting line as we prepare for the start of the World Supercross Finals at the LA Coliseum. The gates down. The first wave you can see on the right hand, the second wave on the left, and Jeff Ward streaks to the start. He's got the hole shot right off the bat. Uh-oh, a little contact up on top. That looks like Ron Lachine, who went off the track and is in the infield right now. Talk about a serious blow. You end up at the back of the pack at the very beginning of the race. It's awful tough to get around 19 other riders to regain the lead, and that's exactly what Lachine will have to do. Now, focus your attention on the leader, Jeff Ward, number 2. This year, he was crowned not only the champion of the 250cc outdoor circuit, but he was also the champ of the year-long Supercross circuit here in Motocross. And at the end of the first full lap, the green flag is out. Jeff has got himself a comfortable full 1 second lead. Back behind him, the very first guy who was caught sandbagging, that's Johnny O'Mara on Team Honda. Back down the peristyle, 90 feet from top to bottom, the only place in the entire country where we have an uphill and downhill. And there you can see our 2 front runners as they're working on lap number 2 of a 20-lap main event. It's this race here upon which all of the marbles are thrown out. The points, the money, and of course all of the prestige, not to mention the first ever Rodeo Cup. Kawasaki with the lead, Honda in second place. It looks like a Yamaha back in third. I believe that's Scott Burnworth. We saw Scott streak out to a great start earlier on this evening. He qualified for the main and hasn't had to run since then. Scott, the latest addition to Team Yamaha. And those top 3 riders really beginning to widen out now. We're seeing the top 3 really run away, and this is what the promoter was trying to avoid in that double wave start. Hopefully, or what the promoter was hoping to have, was by having all of the top finishers in the qualifier start in the second wave. Whoa! Down on the track, that's Ricky Johnson. Ricky is not the rider crumpled up in the middle of the track. He's over on the side trying to get his Yamaha going again. The down riders, you can see, receiving immediate medical attention, but Ricky is now at a severe disadvantage in the race. Back to your leader, Jeff Ward and Johnny O'Mara. We started to say a few moments ago, the winners of the earlier races were supposed to start in the second wave. They figured that would be the fastest group of riders. As you saw, though, with the sandbagging that went on, the riders plain old outfoxed the promoters and turned it around on him. So Ward was able to start in the first wave. Remember, he pulled that little hat trick out of view of everybody in the spectating stands, back behind the peristyle area. Finds himself up on top. O'Mara in the blue jersey in second, Scott Burnworth in third. Jeff, one hand up in the air. I'm not sure if he was stretching his tendons there or what. I can't believe that at this point of the race he'd be waving to his girlfriend off the side of the track. Some incredible horsepower that you look at on these 250cc machines here on the floor of the Coliseum tonight. Ward, a rider that has probably the best reputation of maintaining his physical conditioning. All this year, he and his personal trainer, Jeff Spencer, designed a program particular to his needs. Jeff's a little on the short side. He's only about 5'4", 5'5". A little stocky, but I tell you, there is probably all of 3 ounces of fat on his entire body. This guy could go out and play 2 or 3 soccer games back to back. Again, a lapped rider as Johnny O'Mara getting a little bit close to Jeff Ward again. And the white flag is out. We're on the last lap of the race, and now this is going to be the final opportunity that Johnny's going to have to take this away. Wouldn't it be something if Jeff Ward were to lead every single lap of this race except for the last one? Well, that's the idea that Johnny O'Mara has in the back of his mind right now. As you can see, the Coliseum scoreboard reminding the 50,000 fans here that there's just 1 lap left. Team Kawasaki, they've stuck with Jeff Ward through thick and thin. And this year, of course, winning the 250 National Championship and the Supercross Champion. And now, Johnny O'Mara, number 3, really putting the gas on like he has not all race long. O'Mara is closing to within a bike length and a half, drops down to 2 bike lengths over the whoop-de-doos. Here in the rocker section will probably be O'Mara's best chance, as riders have the opportunity for 2 different lines here. No, instead O'Mara plays it safe and follows the same line. That means it's going to be the last corner. That'll be his last chance. Johnny O, he's a little too far outside to have a good shot at it, and sure enough, it's not going to happen. Jeff Ward takes the checkered flag and the win. However, the series win for the Rodeo Cup will go to number 24, Jimmy Hawley. Jeff Ward, the winner of the main event here tonight at the Los Angeles Coliseum, but all the marbles in the Rodeo Cup will go to this man right here.
Jim Hollywood Hawley, truly a world-class Supercross star, and even today he's known as one of the most popular motocrossers in the world. This concludes a look back at Supercross 1985. Join us next time for the beginning of the 1986 season to find out who will be the next Supercross star who rides on 2 wheels.